Listen to me.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Sunday, September 8th, 2019. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination episode 1171.
This is No Agenda.
Busting the Billabong and broadcasting live from Opportunity Zone 33 in the frontier of Austin, Texas, capital of the drone star state. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where we're watching Hurricane Dorian. It doesn't seem to be coming here anytime soon. I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Yeah, but apparently it's going to Scandinavia.
It's hit. It's already hitted.
It's hitted the Scandinavians, and it's getting stronger.
Yeah, it hitted Nova Scotia, and they brought the troops in, and now I guess now it's headed over to the British Isles. It's going to hit Ireland. It's going to go down the coast.
Yeah,
it take out most of the coast of France, and it's going to bounce around, come around in front of Spain.
Oh, and it's all done by the Chinese with their weather modification technique. Finally, we agree on something.
Somebody's finally got a hold of this. They got their steering wheel. They're moving this thing around.
You know what it's going to do? It's going to decimate everything in its path. Decimate. Just decimate.
Decimated.
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 And people from the island of Abaco are now taking refuge in Nassau after Hurricane Dorian decimated their homes.
Let's get our first glimpse of the decimated Bahama Islands from the air.
Nature's fury has decimated it.
Marsh Harbor and the northern part of Abaco is completely decimated.
Parts of Abaco are decimated.
It's a minor bitch that I have at this time in life.
We both have. The show had. This is not minor.
No, but we gave up on it. We gave up on this a long time ago.
Well, who knew it was going to make such a comeback? And then how can you use the phrase? Well, why don't you back up and give people the definition of decimate?
Yeah, decimated technically means 10% is gone.
Yeah.
Not it's been cut down to 10%, and think about it, decimated, 10, it's been 10'd. So they took 10% off. And this comes from, isn't this from Roman times that they use this?
I think it's Roman, yeah.
Yeah. So
when they go and decimate, they'd come into some area and they'd kill 10% of the people. Now, to say completely decimated,
that's even better.
Does that mean it's accurate to 2 decimal points? Yeah. 10.00?
Yes, it's right on the nose. Completely decimated. And I think it's okay if you ask for decimation. Otherwise, it's just devastated would have been better. Devastated would have been probably correct. And we're making light of it, but holy crap, decimated, please.
Yeah, so when you hear the word decimated, think of the No Agenda show.
Yes.
And remember that it means 1 out of 10. It means 10% decimated.
Yeah.
Ever since the two of us together, we discovered it's not anything to discover.
We're gonna get a plaque.
Hey, you idiots are using the word wrong. It's like 8 years ago.
I think so. Yeah.
And so we started, and I guess we went on a little rampage about it, and nobody paid attention. So they're still using the word improperly.
Let me see if it's decimated. Let me see if they still. No, it's changed a little bit. Let's go to Merriam-Webster, which I think we've used consistently. So now, definition of decimate: to select by lot and kill every 10th man. So that is the correct definition.
Yes.
Or to exact a tax of 10%, to reduce drastically, especially in number. So now it gets a little funkier. Yeah, and so that's 3A, and 3B is to cause great destruction or harm too. So the language is changing.
It's a minor new.
Yeah, it's changing.
Minor and new usage.
Yeah. I don't know if that's as bad as Sharpiegate. But we were done with it in 45 seconds, so we're done. We're done with bitching about decimated. But this Sharpiegate thing, I'm sure you followed this or you heard about it.
No, I did not.
Oh, brother.
Call it Mapgate 2019. The question this morning, did President Trump show a doctored map hoping to prove he was right when he warned Hurricane Dorian would hit Alabama? The president displaying that map in the Oval Office.
That was the original chart. And you see it was going to hit not only Florida, but Georgia. It could have was going toward the Gulf. That was what was originally projected. and it took a right turn.
Take a closer look. The black line projecting that Dorian would move from Florida to Alabama appears to be drawn on by a marker. Here's the original issued last Thursday by the National Hurricane Center. Alabama in the clear. President Trump has repeatedly insisted Alabama was in Dorian's path.
Alabama could even be in for at least some very strong winds and something more than that.
The National Weather Service even forced to correct him, saying Alabama will not see any impacts from Dorian. But he's still not backing down.
I know that Alabama was in the original forecast, but Alabama was hit very hard and was going to be hit very hard along with Georgia.
Now FEMA and NOAA referring all questions about the seemingly doctored map back to the White House, where President Trump said he knew nothing about it.
So this was.
Hold on a second. I know about this event. I didn't know it was called Sharpie Gate.
Well, first of all, the fact that this is the national conversation on the so-called news while the Bahamas are decimated. What do these people have time for?
By the way, I used a photo in the last newsletter that was a Sharpie Gate type image because there's a bunch of these memes going around. And the one I put on the newsletter is quite funny. But this is this is kind of a mountain out of a molehill, kind of a... Well, just looking for anything, I guess. I don't know. And my favorite one, I think, was one of the newspapers said, it's illegal to mark up a map like this.
Yeah.
What?
But
it's illegal?
But NOAA actually came out and said, yeah, actually, the president's right. That there was an actual 10% chance, 5 to 10% of Alabama.
Yeah, with all the spaghetti stuff that came out, sure.
And that's another thing that is so fantastic. No one in the mainstream bats an eye at 15 spaghetti string so-called models, none of which actually appeared to be correct, at least not initially. That's okay, but then, this little extra line, which I don't think Trump drew that. It's maybe he did. Who cares? The fact that it's news. And
what was the point of him, vouching for Alabama so much?
To distract from the fact that this was a Chinese weather weapon that we're combating, maybe.
Oh,
let's not look at
the second half of show.
No, okay,
should have saved it.
Okay, Yale
if it that good, they'd already be wiping us out.
But this went pretty far. Yale psychiatrist explains the dangerous mental pathology behind Trump's unhinged Sharpie Gate fiasco. I mean, they're really taking it that far.
He's unhinged.
Yeah.
He wrote up with the Sharpie, made a line.
Dr. Bandy X Lee. Now, that's the woman who
wrote Chinese.
Well, she wrote the book and has all the psychologists signed on to it. Yeah. She said Trump is incapable of backing down no matter how wrong he is. In a sense, becoming his own worst enemy, and the ramifications for the country beyond one silly viral moment. So anyway, that's the news, everybody. That's what the news is doing. Is they're talking about Sharpie Gate. And meanwhile, Scandinavia's getting decimated. Or at least parts of it.
I don't think one of the models, maybe. I mean, I have to go back and look, because I do have that spaghetti chart somewhere in my files.
Mm-hmm.
If any of the models showed that thing just taking a right and bouncing up the coast, hitting North Carolina, and then hitting Nova Scotia. That's pretty much of a long shot model.
I'm curious if it's there. You should go back and take a look at that.
I will.
Because it's, do we have a lot of...
I mean, they had models going every which way.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Do we have a lot of echo today? You sound echoey to me. Maybe not.
What do you think, chat room? Do I sound echoey?
So we're witnessing something, moving along here. We're witnessing something in real time, which is fun to watch. True manipulation of the media and by the media and by PR consultants and lobbyists to change perception and usher in laws that solidify a small number of large companies. Sounds familiar, I'm sure. But I wanted to get this out right away because this is something that I want everyone to be aware of and to watch because it's really fun when you understand how it works. And how long have we been tracking the vape wars? About 3 years now, maybe a little longer?
Well, it's ever since you met Dexter.
Vape wars!
I'm 18 years old. My lungs are like a 7-8-year-old's.
Adam Hergenrader has been in an Illinois hospital for a week, sick from vaping.
They told me if we didn't bring him in when we brought him in, his lungs would have collapsed and he would have died.
The Centers for Disease Control has now identified 450 possible vaping-related illnesses in 33 states.
Vaping is the only common factor in these injuries to date. Many individuals have reported vaping THC, the ingredient in marijuana, or other substances.
The CDC says it's too early to point to a single common substance in all cases. But earlier this week, New York State health officials said vitamin E acetate found in some vaping products is a focal point of their investigation. Like most who fell ill, Adam Hergenrader says he used THC vapes and also vaped nicotine in a separate product made by Juul, the largest e-cigarette maker in the country.
When I first started juuling, I didn't know what nicotine was, so I just thought it was just a vape juice.
In a statement, Juul Labs said the ingredients of our products do not include THC or vitamin E compounds like those found in THC products. Regardless, health officials warn, don't take chances.
Folks who really should consider not using these products, not vaping, until more is known about what is causing these lung injuries.
The Food and Drug Administration is also investigating, and it has collected 120 samples. It's now testing to determine which chemical compound may be causing so many bad reactions.
So that's kind of the headline, which most people have heard, yes?
Yeah. Hold on. Did somebody slip in the word, that guy did, slipped in the word when I first started juuling?
Oh, yeah. No, of course. This is about putting Juul, the company that sold 30% to Atria, formerly known as Philip Morris, for $18 billion. And Reynolds is in this as well. The idea is to make Juul in particular the only vape you can buy. And let me explain a little bit how this works. Because this has been done exactly the same way by Big Tobacco, who now effectively owns Juul. So first let's start with these Juul. The founders of Juul have a kind of a weird, they're a weird part of this story, is they created the Juul device as a smoking cessation device so that you will stop smoking. That's actually kind of a negative for them because they're being sued now for making false claims and unproven claims. But that's a little bit of a side issue. I went as deep as I could to find out who these three people were who died from vaping. Let's just leave in the middle what they were vaping. It turns out two of them were gentlemen over 65 years old who had serious lung issues and had vaped THC. And so they died. And no one is conclusively saying these people are getting sick from this or these people died from this. But for sure, they're conflating, not conflated, they are intermingling vaping of e-juice, vaping of THC, and Juul into one nice little bundled story. And here's how it's supposed to work. They have 600 lobbyists right now in Washington for vaping. Juul, the company alone, before the purchase, before the partial acquisition, had 88 lobbyists. They all want to do the same thing, which is how Big Tobacco did it previously. You want to swoop in and create state laws, and it's happening everywhere. It's happening in Texas this month. Age is going to 21. There's a couple other things in there. Why do they want the state laws? Because they have much bigger control on state representatives, particularly tobacco states, but they have a lot of control over them, a lot of money going into this. And the minute they get the state laws in place, cities can no longer create ordinances. And they put in all these preemptions. So there's many different little subtle things like, it doesn't count for veterans. If you got one leg and you're near a school, you can buy it anyway. There's all these little things, and it makes the policing of the measures much more difficult. This is exactly what RJR did. There's nothing new except the media is either playing into it, half of them probably are, and the other ones are too dumb not to know history. And here's an example of Michigan.
And the big story, snuffing out an epidemic.
Michigan becoming the first state to ban the sale of flavored e-cigarettes.
Governor Gretchen Whitmer today.
This is very important. Flavored e-cigarettes. Flavored.
Accusing e-cigarette companies of using deceptive advertising and candy flavors to hook kids on nicotine. Whitmer ordering the health department to issue emergency rules to ban sales in the state.
All of this after a series of mysterious respiratory illnesses right here in Michigan and all around the country, all associated with vaping.
The vaping industry already responding. Leading manufacturer Juul Labs pushing back on the pending ban, including menthol-based products like mint flavoring, saying, "We believe that to encourage adult smokers to switch from combustible use, the number one cause of preventable death in the world, they should be available at retail alongside tobacco." Vape shop owners sounding the alarm that the ban will bulldoze their business.
I've never witnessed one transaction that doesn't have flavor in it. So if this continues, we're going to have to shut down.
And that's the point. They want the little vape shops shut down because, true, almost all e-liquids are flavored. I like tobacco. It's very hard to get a tobacco flavor unless, guess what? You go to Juul, who are the main manufacturers of tobacco flavored products. Yeah, they have some menthol, but I'm sure they'll figure that out. So it's very simple. Get the state laws in place, squash all of the independent people who created the industry, scare people into using nothing unless it's FDA approved, and Juul is going to be the ruler right on top. That's what's going on here, and you can watch it in everything.
Well, I do believe that there is a one competitor. I've seen them advertising, which is on the Juul level. I think a tobacco company.
Yeah, there's one other product. I forget the name of it, but yeah.
Yeah, and they have some other gimmick going on. But I'm looking back on this is that for a couple of things that people could note. This all came on out of the blue. All of a sudden, everybody's reporting on it across the country, which indicates it's just some sort of a PR scam. And the other thing was, remember just 2 or 3 years ago when the whole scene was just really, I wouldn't say vibrant, but it was rocking, and there was all these shops everywhere. And that's when those guys had these, 25-volt DC boxes that they'd breathe,
this is
the giant vape cloud, and they blow it out, and it would fill a room with smoke. And you see this. Why aren't those guys all in the hospital? You'd think.
No, because it's untrue. Now, it's very possible that this tocopherol acetate, which is vitamin E acetate,
why is that in a vape?
Well, that's in the THC, which is typically home-built stuff. People get carts off of Alibaba. They throw some stuff in there. They throw some dab, basically, highly extracted THC, and they want to, get some oil there so that it can vaporize. And that it may actually be hurting people. Absolutely. But you don't want to do this kind of experimentation or get stuff off the street. There are reputable companies. If you want to vape your THC, they're very safe, approved, and you can get it from California mainly. Anything else is, of course, dangerous. And there's all kinds of, you can get popcorn lung and all these different things that people warn about. But having been a lifelong tobacco smoker and having stopped and pretty much moved to vape, there are some definite side effects, such as I am not short of breath. I can bicycle longer at spin. There's a whole bunch of side effects that seem to be quite beneficial, but I don't use some hokey cartridge that some guy palmed off to me on the corner of the street. That's what may have been happening there, but it's kind of moot because this is a Hill and Knowlton job or some other company who knows exactly how to do this, and they're succeeding. It's great. And now it's the CDC versus the FDA. Well, guess who's going to win? It's going to be the FDA. And they'll give the go-ahead to Juul, and if you want to make a flavored liquid, that'll be okay, but you'll have to pay about $1 million to go to the approval process. At least that's what Juul will set it at, so no one else can compete.
Yeah, it's an old scam.
Yeah.
It works. It's the American way.
And just like the marijuana industry, you can totally ignore it. You can make your own e-liquid at home. You don't need to go buy anything if you don't want to, and you can ensure that it's safe. Like marijuana, you don't have to buy it in the dispensary. You can actually take a seed and grow it yourself. It's quite fun to do. So, but I do want everyone to pay attention to this because you'll see it. You'll see more and more.
Well, that's apparently galling you, if nothing else.
Well, it's not galling me. It's fun to watch. Once you're aware of what's going on, then it's fun to see, how they're doing it and how news media is all in, completely. No questions asked. Just
No, they have no interest in actually digging into the story, even just superficially.
No,
which is all you need to do to get to the bottom of it. But they won't even do that much work. It's just not. It's beyond them. They get the video press release from some. Oh, look at this. This is all packaged up. All we need is a voiceover.
There was another one of these that came out, and I think I know where this is coming from. And this is the Oxford report on vegetarians. I hope you heard this one.
I believe so.
Yeah, let's listen to the intro.
Plant-based eating has momentum. More and more people giving up meat. Here in Atlanta, you'll find a long line like this at the restaurant Slutty Vegan. Last month, KFC tested plant-based chicken.
Is that the name of the place?
I think it is. Yeah.
Slutty Vegan.
There was no video while they were saying that. It sounded like Slutty Vegan to me, too.
Last month, KFC tested plant-based chicken. It sold out in less than 5 hours. Burger King has a meatless burger option now as well. According to global data, there's been a 600% increase in people identifying as vegan in the United States from 2014 to 2017. But a new study links vegan and vegetarian diets as increasing chances of having a stroke. So we wanted to talk more about this.
So first, she's already mixing up vegan and vegetarian. The study was about vegetarians, and I like how it's been tied into the meatless movement, which is why I think the study came out in the first place, or at least the study is being abused for this. So, meatless. Oh, everyone's going meatless, but the Slutty Vegan. Oh, no, this could not be. Oh, what's going on? So you're set up to already not want to eat the meatless burger. So you know who's behind this.
Joining us, 11 Live medical correspondent Dr. Sujatha Reddy. Dr. Reddy, could this really be a legitimate side effect of giving up meat?
Well, this was a pretty impressive study. It was done through the University of Oxford in England, and they looked at 48,000 people in their 40s and followed them for a very long time. And as they followed them, they talked to them about their diet, and they found out what we've known before, that a vegetarian and or vegan diet can lower the risk of heart disease, but there was no data on stroke. And in this study, there was a slight increase in the risk of stroke. Now, the authors are quick to say this is not cause and effect. It's an observational study, and more research needs to be done. But I think it's really worth talking about as we see more people embracing a plant-based lifestyle.
So this was it. This is the 20% increased chance of stroke if you're a vegetarian. But the study is quick to point out that this does not prove causation. The same Oxford 3 years ago, 2016, released the interim report of the same people, except they'd been following them for 16 years instead of 18 years. And they said, actually, 35% of people who don't eat meat seem to have healthier heart. Didn't mention anything about stroke. But then just listen to the news folks who are all in on the meatless generation.
Yeah, but you eat plants. You're going to feel better. It's easier to digest. You are going to live longer.
These are not doctors. These are the news people talking after this report, just so you understand where the money's coming from.
Yeah, but you eat plants. You're going to feel better. It's easier to digest. You are going to live longer. That's just how it is.
Not necessarily
Studies are
easier to digest.
We've seen through the generations, the more meat you eat, the more physical maladies you're likely to possess.
Well, in full disclosure,
who?
The news guy. But listen, here's the doctor who's doing the report. She's against it.
Physical maladies you're likely to possess.
Well, in full disclosure, I'm a lacto-ovo vegetarian. I do
lacto-ovum vegetarian.
Oh,
I had not heard of this.
Yeah, well, that's very common out here. It means you drink milk and you eat eggs.
I thought that was So
lacto-ovum.
On full disclosure, I'm a lacto-ovo vegetarian. I do egg and cheese, but I've been a vegetarian for many years, and it works for me, but I think this is a personal decision. I think there's also ways that you can be a healthy meat eater, and there are ways to be an unhealthy vegetarian. If you're going to eat a vegetarian diet and it's going to be full of refined carbohydrates and sugars, that is not good for you. You also, as a vegetarian, have to be cautious to make sure you're getting your protein and your calcium, and focus on vitamins, because the authors in this study speculate that some of the vitamins that vegetarians are often lacking may be contributing to the increased risk of stroke. But I think you can eat meat and be healthy. I think everything in moderation. Maybe avoid too much red meat, avoid processed meat for sure. Limit it. I'm not saying eliminate it, but limit it.
The bacon sausage sandwich with a cigarette probably
just
is
in
out,
everyone's
right?
once in a blue moon.
No cigarette. Eat a cigarette.
Yeah, and
these are the same global warming doofuses. Now, couple of things. The woman before, I've been talking about the Oxford report, said vegetarian lifestyle. I thought that was interesting. Just the idea of it being a lifestyle. It's a life choice.
It's a choice. It's a choice.
Lifestyle. I live the vegetarian lifestyle.
I'm pro lacto-ovum.
And then the lacto-ovum woman. I mean, why don't you? Could you slip the word meat in there? I'm a vegetarian who eat. But it's like this commercial that's going around where this guy says, "Dude, he says to his wife in the Volkswagen." It's a funny commercial on the West Coast for 76 products, and it's a couple of hipsters, and one of them says to his wife, he says, "Do they have a vegan menu?" To the restaurant they're trying to find. She says, "No, you're not a vegan." He says, "I am a vegan when I don't eat meat." And so I think there's this flexibility going on like this. Like this is people are just kind of like, well, I'll be vegan for a day. Now I'm reminded of a story when I went to CeBIT once with this guy, with a group of people. And one of these guys was...
Wait, CeBIT, is that the computer conference in Germany?
Yeah, the big giant one in Hanover. And so this guy is an adamant vegan. He's a vegan. And he made a big scene about it. And he was a big fat guy, which you run into in tech. And but he was a fat guy with a big gut. And I'm thinking, this guy's a vegan. You should be skinny as a rail. I mean, I don't get it. And so I went to breakfast one morning, and there he was.
Eating a candy
bar. What did you think his breakfast consisted of?
Candy bars, cereal.
Well, not candy bars, but nothing but Danishes, like a pile of them, like 10 or 11 cinnamon buns. It's like his main diet was cinnamon buns, and this was veganism to him.
Are you sure he was a vegan?
Well, he said he was, and he made a big stink about it. And how it would be better if everybody was. This is political, you know.
Yeah. Well,
I don't eat meat.
Well, we have dueling factions here. We have the meat people. Yeah, as you said, the cattle ranchers, whoever.
Cattlemen's Association.
Whoever the meat people are, and the meat people are fighting the meatless movement. And you know what?
Sure they are.
They should be.
And they better. That's their job. Yeah. They have these associations. You pay into these clubs, and they're supposed to do that business, and so they're doing something, finally.
Yeah. Finally. Yeah. Now we're all for meat. I guess I am for meat, actually. We cooked some meat last night as a birthday gift. Tina and I took a cooking class.
What kind of a gift is meat?
It's a great
gift.
Happy
birthday, dear. Here's some meat.
No, I went to a cooking class. I'm reluctant.
You went to a cooking class?
I'm reluctant to talk about it because you're just gonna make fun of it.
Oh, I'm not okay. Well, if I guarantee not to make fun of it,
no, then it won't be a good segment.
Okay, well then, I'll moderate myself so I'm not. In fact, I'll take it seriously. Is it a cooking session I would maybe go to because I would want to learn some very fine specialty about how to use phyllo dough in a certain way?
I'm sure they have a class like that. This was the date night cooking session.
Oh, this is just a date night.
We learned how to make creme brulee. We made popovers. And check it out. I was skeptical, but we actually had a kale dish that didn't taste all that kale-y.
Yeah, if you cover it up with enough bacon fat and cook it to death.
It was shallots and it was creamy kale.
Loaded up
kale.
Shallots. There's a good one. That's a good cover-up thing
and I learned how to properly dice a shallot, which I didn't know there's a good way to do it.
Oh, well, what way is this?
Well, you put the shallot down, and then you slice horizontally 7/8 of the way through. Then you go on top, and then you get your perfectly small dice.
Yeah, it's done with onions too. The same thing.
Oh no, I'm sure it's more. It was new. I learned that, and it was good though. It was fun. You're doing that there with a couple other people, and you're drinking wine, and it's fun. It was. I had a very good time. It was a lot of fun, and we made a beautiful piece of meat.
What was the meat that I thought you were making popovers and dessert stuff.
Yeah, that was all there too. So it was a nice.
What was the meat that you had? What was so special about that?
Well, that we cooked it. It was, it was like a.
Yeah, you cooked meat before.
It was of course. I mean, I cook the meat the same way, except I do it in. I always sear it on each side, and then into the oven it goes in the cast iron skillet, and that was basically the same. So there was nothing new for me there, other than the topping, which was this huge butter and more shallots and seasoning and just melted all over it. It was so good and not very vegetarian.
I'm glad you got out.
See, it's no fun if you don't make fun of it, then it doesn't work.
Well, there wasn't that much to make fun of.
Yeah.
But putting butter on meat is not that new of a
There you go. There you go. There you go. There it is. But you walk out. It's done in this place called Sur la Table, which is kind of a Williams-Sonoma.
Sur la Table. That's the Berkeley operation.
Yeah,
you got Berkeleyized.
Yes. And then you walk out. You're like, hey, I really want that knife that I just used. That pepper thing. That was kind of good.
Price full retail.
Yeah, sharp knives save lives.
Yeah, they got one of those operations here on 4th Street, and they got one up in Seattle, and there's a couple more on the West Coast, I think.
Yeah.
But Boston's an obvious place for the suckers to go there. Yeah, no problem.
We're not
Makes sense.
Suckers. It was a fabulous evening.
Yeah. Well, happy birthday.
Thank you. What were you doing, meanwhile? Hopefully you were prepping for the show while I was off cooking
I was
meat.
watching football.
Oh, yeah.
It's the beginning of the new college season.
Yeah. Okay.
I got to watch Oregon rack up 77 points. Wow. Doesn't mean anything to you, but it means a lot to me. But I was also trying to follow what's going on with Brexit, which I do want to talk about for a minute.
Yeah.
And the reason is because I didn't realize this because I hadn't followed him. But on Twitter, Boris Johnson is doing a Trump.
Oh.
He's up the ante, I think, and Trump is following suit. Boris puts on videos. He's much like Adam or Scott Adams or OJ.
You mean like
really
more
like OJ?
Like really shitty videos?
They're pretty shitty, yeah.
Just a selfie?
But it's like, hey, everybody. So he's got...
Does he actually start off with, hey, everybody? That would be great.
It's close. It's close.
Yeah.
Not quite. He doesn't have the little singing at the beginning or OJA, Twitter world.
Right.
So, so this is Boris Johnson. This is a long clip, and it's a little, I think it's slightly dull because he's a Brit. And so he speaks, with this kind of style that is like, ugh. But he does go on and he makes his case for what's going on regarding Brexit. It's a little bit of bullshit. We heard the Farage clip last show about him, sneaking over to Brussels to try to do a deal. Here is Boris Johnson on Twitter explaining himself.
Hi, folks. A lot has happened this week, and I wanted to update you. I've been negotiating over the past 5 weeks to get us a new deal. EU leaders were willing to negotiate a deal because they knew we're going to leave on October the 31st, deal or no deal. Last night, Jeremy Corbyn and others voted to wreck the chance of a deal. Their new law tries to force the government to go to Brussels, beg for another delay until 2020, or for as long as Brussels demands. People don't want another pointless delay, but this law is even worse. Brussels could demand that I hand over billions of your money in return for this pointless delay. I refuse to do this. My view is that if Parliament tries to force another pointless delay, and I refuse to do that, then voters should decide what happens next. And people can choose. Jeremy Corbyn to be Prime Minister, go to Brussels on the 17th of October to delay Brexit again and do what Brussels wants. Or people can choose me to go to Brussels on the 17th of October, try to negotiate a new deal, and I'm confident that I can, but to leave on the 31st of October in all circumstances so that the country can move on. Last night, Jeremy Corbyn voted to stop you, the public, deciding this. He's now voted to destroy the negotiations, to delay again for no reason, and to stop you deciding whether we delay or not. It seems to me he doesn't trust you to make this decision. I do trust you. It will be totally wrong for Parliament to force another pointless delay without your agreement. So if you want Brexit sorted out before October the 31st, then please ask your MP to vote on Monday so that you can have your say on who goes to Brussels to sort this out. Me or Jeremy Corbyn. Thank you.
Now, that was actually pretty good. I appreciate what he's doing. But where are we exactly? It's not entirely clear to me. What is the status of everything now?
It's not entirely clear to me either. I can say that, apparently they're pushing and pushing and pushing to extend the date again.
Well, yeah, I understand that.
Half of his ministers have been fired just over the last few days. They've been firing him left and right because they've been turncoats.
I just want to hear his call to action again at the end. Let's see what he wants people to do.
Force another pointless delay without your agreement. So if you want Brexit sorted out before October the 31st, then please ask your MP to vote on Monday so that you can have your say on who...
Right, so Monday is when the Parliament has the vote. And then, then if that law passes, then Boris is basically screwed. He can't do anything. Then he's locked. He's locked out. Locked in, locked out. Yes,
it was locked somewhere.
I think it was Comic Strip Blogger, of all people. So take that with the authority of which it comes. Said that the plan, and remember, there's a Cummings is running the campaign. That's the guy who ran the Brexit campaign. That's the smartest guy in the room type algo meister. So, and he's running a lot of this for Boris Johnson, and you don't hear much of him. But apparently, the idea is for Boris to refuse the law, be held in contempt.
That's what he hinted at in the little Twitter speech,
and then go to jail. And then the Queen would pardon him, he'd come out, and then he could do whatever we do because the date is passed and he is in charge somehow. So there's some strategy which sounded pretty wild to me. Kind of like, I don't know.
It's a there's all kinds of possibilities, and it's not beyond Boris Johnson to pull a wild stunt.
It would make things a little more exciting.
Yeah,
because this is not really working for me. We don't have any excitement.
And there's got this another vote coming up, and you got your prediction on the line.
Well, that Boris won't make it happen. Yeah, that's my prediction. He will not make it happen. Let me see. I had this. Of course, what's more interesting to me is the propaganda that goes around, and this was a piece. Where was this from? I think this might have been BBC. Of course, this is about the settled status scheme for those who are not Brits living in, or who are EU citizens, I should say, living in the UK, but don't have the proper paperwork possibly to stay after Brexit. So they bring out this woman who's, I don't know, from East Bloc country. She's been married to a guy. She lives in Bristol. They have a son together, and she's worried about what's going to happen to her. And there's this hole in the report with just no words. The music goes down a little bit, and they put a title on the lower third, which I will read for you after the bit passes. I'll go back and read it to you so you know why this is the kind of bullshit they're doing there.
worry about my future, worry about the future of my children. What will happen to me on the 1st of November? What will happen to them? What is the impact on them as well? It's also a feeling of being rejected to the country you call home. I've been living in the UK for 16 years. I've had the same employer for 15 years, and I'm married to an Englishman. I actually applied the day my little boy turned 13, thinking, hey, let's celebrate his birthday and celebrate my settled status.
So here's this hole in the report. And so what she's saying is, I've been here for 16 years. I've been employed for 15 years. My little boy turned 13. I was like, I'm going to celebrate my official status. And I'm going to read it for
let's
you.
Celebrate his birthday and celebrate my settled status.
Lily's application had insufficient evidence to be instantly approved. In other words, she had no right to be there, but okay.
I never actually saw it will happen to me. I feel that my voice is not being heard. I think my voice and the voice of the 3 million EU citizens living here is not being heard. No one is asking us how it's impacting on us, on our day-to-day life, on our mental health. I want to remain positive, but I've lost trust.
I've lost trust. So they're using these sob stories and get everybody into the right mood. Tell her, we can't be Brexiting. This is no good. The poor woman. Oh, no. Meanwhile, the UK
could be a plant. For all we know, she works for a public relations agency, and this is all malarkey.
Yeah, absolutely. Think about the business the United States could do with the United Kingdom if they were freed from the EU. And Trump is doing now we have 20, was it tariffs, 100% tariffs on dairy goods and even some Gouda cheese, which is kind of upsetting to me. It's one of my main sources of protein. So that's EU sanctions going up. I think the US and the UK could have fantastic trade. We could make them our manufacturing base. Put those Brits to work.
Yeah, we're going to put the Mexicans back to work.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what it looks like. And some Canadians, too.
Mm.
But it's just this whole thing is dragging on too long. I can't believe the public. When's the redo? That's what they're going to have to do.
Yeah. On the 19th of October, they have, is it 19th of October? Yes. The 19th of October is another march, the People's Vote March, and they're pushing that big. So I think that's the plan. The 17th, they're all back. The 19th, we have, and this will be a big protest. Let me see, because it's like the People's Vote March. That was who was sponsoring that last time with all those professional signs?
I don't know. It's probably some French company.
Yeah, let me see. October.
I do have a report 19th. From PBS on the minor Brexit protests that are taking place now. They're expected to grow.
Hold on a second. Which is this?
Minor Brexit protests.
Yeah.
Dueling marches collided in London's Parliament Square today. One side in favor and the other side against the UK leaving the European Union without a deal. Members of the pro-Brexit Democratic Football Lads Alliance clashed with the anti-Brexit group March for Change. European Union flags waved. Besides a flying beer can, police managed to keep the two groups apart. The UK's departure from the EU under a no-deal Brexit is still set for October 31st, but debate continues in Parliament.
Okay, here it is. It's the People's Vote. Saturday, 19th October 2019, London, People's Vote March. Let us be heard. And 15 towns and cities across the country, culminating in an enormous historic march in London, October 19th, because it is now clear that this is a crisis that cannot be settled. Let me see FAQs. Does it say who's... No, funny. It doesn't really say who's behind this. But when you hit the donate button, which is usually what I like to hit first, you're hardly going to believe this. Chip in whatever you can afford towards the march now. They're using the chip in language.
So they probably got the same consultants.
Yeah, the same people who writes Nation Builder. Isn't that a part of Share Blue? I think it is. I think it is. Yeah,
it probably is. It's probably the same. Then Cher Blue and these guys and the American Democrats are all against the idea of Brexit because it really slows down the progress to one world government.
Yeah, which is where we're supposed to be going.
That's your real target, and that's going to take a while, and you can't do it with stuff like Brexit.
Yeah.
Throwing it makes a mess, and now we got to go. What are we going to do about that? Yeah, it's just the fly in the ointment.
Yeah, Nation Builder started in 2008. Surprise, surprise. From some of the Obama people. There you go. That's where it's all coming from.
Yeah, so, they're all.
But I think they'll get a lot of traction. I think there will be a lot of people marching. Whether there are or not, it will be portrayed as millions. Let's put a number on it. I would say they're going to say something like over 2. Has to be good. Has to be good.
No, I don't believe this. Okay, but give us a number. I have my number.
They would have to say 3 million people nationwide or something of this ilk. So not just London, but 3 million nationwide.
That's hedging, but okay. I'm going to say there's 500,000 people. 500,000 will be the number they use, and it's going to be in London.
It'll be all footage from London, but they have to go bigger than 1 million because they've already done that one before. So it has to go a little further.
I don't think they can pull it off. I think they can say 500,000 and it'll get the same impact. I don't think you need to say 1 million. 500,000 marching in London is a lot of people.
Well, bottom line,
like Hong Kong.
Bottom line,
really need 2 million, to make make it happen.
Yeah, Hong Kong is great. We are doing such a good job in Hong Kong. Now we've moved it. We've shifted everything to. Oh my goodness! It's not just that people don't want the Chinese government; they want America.
Hong Kong protesters are taking their demands straight to the U.S. consulate. Huge crowds are gathered now ahead of an authorized march to the consulate building. It is the 14th straight weekend of demonstrations. Many are waving American flags. These are live video we have for you right now. And they hope their pleas for democracy will resonate with Americans. On Saturday, the U.S. Defense Secretary urged China's government to show restraint in dealing with the protest movement. There are more American flags in this live video we're showing you now.
China is asshole!
And they're singing the national anthem, and they're waving the flags.
China is asshole!
It's fantastic. I mean, it's been a while since you've seen protesters in another country saying we want America to step in. How un-21st century is that? No one says that anymore.
Yeah, that I don't know who's orchestrating that, but that takes a lot of nerve.
It's chutzpah, I think, is the term. Yeah. Wave these flags and say you want us. Come on. You think Brexit is a bunch of phony baloney? These reports are now. People have serious issues, and they're very pissed off, and maybe they are extremely frustrated. And all they can hope for is that somehow the United States does something to help them, because it's no joke what they're going through.
No, here's a more normalized report I do have, which is from CBC.
Well, sorry.
Which is, in other words, doesn't really talk about the American aspect, but it's a pretty complete report, which is unusual for CBC. Hong Kong report.
But let's turn now to Hong Kong, where it is already Saturday morning. It's also where officials are bracing for yet another weekend of protests. Now, setting the stage, protesters trashed a subway station overnight, an act of destruction aimed at disrupting traffic to the airport.
It wasn't supposed to be like this. Protesters filling the streets and taunting police, the police shooting back with rubber bullets. The concession by Hong Kong leader Carrie Lam this past week was supposed to leave most people satisfied.
Does that change anything? Of course not. If anything, it makes it angrier than before.
Why?
Because we know it's a lie. It is a lie. She's trying to do something. She's trying to divide us, and we're not going to let that happen.
Instead, tonight's crowd seemed united, further demanding that Lamb call an independent inquiry into perceived police brutality, something she has refused. But the protesters refuse to forget this scene from last week, beatings in the subway by police looking for them. This man, too afraid of police to reveal his identity, got in the way. Today, he showed a handful of reporters his bruises. He insists he was just a passenger. I was pushed to the floor and beaten with their batons, he says, called a cockroach. That anger spilled onto the streets here again tonight, met with police warning flags.
So they're moving away from the police station right now. There's been a black flag, meaning tear gas is coming, and an orange flag, meaning there could be shooting. Right now, they're trying to get everybody who doesn't have gear, doesn't have equipment, out of the danger zone.
Indeed, the tear gas came quickly after, as did more shots. The police did manage to regain control of the streets, but as they left, jeers from bystanders showed they have not regained Hong Kong's respect.
Yeah.
Now, we had one of our producers wrote a nasty note in saying, this is interesting and all, but why is there so much emphasis just on these Hong Kong things when the yellow vest revolution in France has been going on consistently, predating this.
Yes.
And continuing to this day, and there is zero news coverage of it. He's leading him to believe that this is like, staged, and not staged by any means, and so far as it being a fake, but staged by the American public relations machinery to be promoted.
Of course.
Just to embarrass China.
Well, we have to promote the right story at the right time.
Yes, and there's nothing good about these protests in other parts of the world which are going on. And there's nothing good that can come of it for us as in general.
Well, let's be factual. This is only about what we're shown, and that's a downside to the type of show we do is we can really only respond to what is out there. Although, again, I'm dipping more into podcasts and other alternative forms of media because it's so boring what the mainstream is doing, and it's just to just regurgitate. Same story, do it again.
Yeah, you see the same thing at every news outlet. Bang, bang, bang. Exactly the same thing. It's like you brought that up with the Sharpie Gate. Mm-hmm. How is this a news story at all?
It's not. It should not be the lead.
Cares?
Should not be the lead when people are being decimated.
The decimation of Nova Scotia.
And then there was this report I had, and of course I can't try it anymore, and I won't try it. Bridgeify is the app of choice now for the Hong Kong protesters, since they were doing using all kinds of different apps to communicate with each other. The smartest one I thought was Pokemon Go, where they were using the DM feature, the chat feature, to communicate. But now apparently they're using Bridgeify, which is a Bluetooth peer-to-peer chat app. Which I don't know, and again, I can't try it. I will not try it on anything I have. I'd like to know how it works. What's going on? What else is it talking to? They think it keeps them safe. Now, I don't see how it keeps them safe. Is there some kind of encryption? Can you identify people? Could a law enforcement official come in and listen along? I don't know. But the idea is cool. But Bluetooth is one of the number one snooping mechanisms used at retail. It's got your Bluetooth on. Oh, we know exactly who you are. All that data is known.
Don't know.
Yeah. Well, maybe one of our producers can give it a shot, or maybe we have someone in Hong Kong
just
who
get
can tell
somebody
us.
to break it down for us.
Yeah, I would like to know.
We have plenty of guys who can do that.
Yeah. I can't contaminate my cloaked iPhone 5.
Why don't you use Tina's gear?
I tell you, she hates the fact that she has to have gear. But, her job requires her to have some stuff with her on the phone. And,
of course.
But I'm always like, hey, try this. No. No, she's taken most things off that she really doesn't need, but she has to have some social media apps on to complete the job. But no, thanks. Maybe I'll ask the millennial. I'll ask the millennial. She'll do it.
Ask the millennials. They'll be glad to help.
She got this app, which is the 5% Club, which I actually kind of like this. When you can enter a special chat room when your iPhone battery is below 5%. And so you just have people chatting with each other, but I'm at 4% now. I'm about to go out in flames. And they have these huge rallies around people dying with really their battery going, but them kind of dying in real time. Armageddon is upon us.
Well, that's the silliest thing I've ever heard.
It's funny in a way. But, yeah, it just goes to show. Wrapping up this first hour with a few unhoused pieces. I told you about the town hall that we had in Austin, which was at Edwards University. And again, the mayor was there and a couple of council members. And it was not quite as clean. It was a little rowdier than we thought, or than previous town halls had been. And I said that there was someone who got kicked out. It was actually Owen Schroyer from InfoWars, who does, what is it? He has a show, The War Room, I think is what it's called. And I wanted to play two pieces here. One is, and this did make, parts of it made the news, but not as much, not the full minute, where he's just sitting there. He's got a camera, he's got his InfoWars mic, and he just stands up and starts yelling at everybody. And I thought it was kind of cool.
Because they're dealing with just the perfect storm.
Staff and I were there every week at the Arch talking with our social service providers and helping to realize support for a pilot program that I think helps point in the direction to where we need to go as a community.
All right, I can't take this anymore. Nothing is going to change in this city with meetings like this. This is pathetic. Nothing is going to change in this city with meetings like this and leaders like this. This is pathetic. How many times do we have to have meetings like this? We should be sounding like me right now. We should be sounding like me right now, not like them. You want to know why nothing changes in this city? Because of bad leadership. Nothing is going to change in this city or your city with this bad leadership. This is pathetic. This is pathetic. Nothing is going to change in this city. And notice how every city he mentioned is run by Democrats. Democrats do this to cities. Nothing is going to change in this city with this leadership. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. We need a new mayor.
Now, I like this because the expression on the mayor's face and the council is one of total lack of they just cannot believe that someone would do this in their holy presence. You can see them. They're like, oh my God, how dare this peasant? And it's you can really see it. And what I like about this, it's an old tactic, is it does sometimes spur other people on to take a little more aggressive stance, such as this young lady with double privilege.
Mayor, as I noticed the style,
yes, sir.
whenever
Yes, sir.
he said
Yes,
that nothing
sir.
was going to change. Do you not care about the fact that there's 10 cities all over? I'm a young woman, I'm a young minority who pays a lot of money to live in this city. And there's 10 cities everywhere. I don't feel safe in my own community. I pay a lot of money to live. And because of you and this city council, I am not safe in my own community. I have homeless people knocking on my door at night asking for money.
Yeah, when you get a double privilege, minority and a woman, we're not going to throw her out. We're going to listen to what she has to say. So now, will it help? Doubtful.
No, of course not.
But thank goodness people are pissed off. You know, are there any meetings in California that have people angry? You never see it.
Well, they don't put it out, but it happens all the time. It's constant. They're screaming at each other in the Oakland City Council. They're screaming at each other at Berkeley. They're screaming at each other in San Francisco.
Well, we need some reports.
Screaming at each other.
We need some reports. We need to know how to do it, or how not to do it.
I think the guy from InfoWars has the right idea, and then he's triggered the other woman, which is perfect. You're doing it fine.
There are a couple of bills going through the House of Representatives. think to amend the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 to allow for non-recognition of gain on real property sold for use as affordable housing. So they're still trying to do the housing thing. So it's the Affordable Housing Incentives Act. I know, really. And Void Zero asked me to please post a link in the show notes, which I've done under the unhoused topic, to the Hobo Ethics Code. Because people should be living by that. This was from the 1889 National Hobo Convention in St. Louis, Missouri. You remember it, John? It must have been a good time.
It was great.
It's the ethical
Lots
code.
of hobos, though.
It's the ethical code created by the Tourist Union. And it has things like decide your own life. Don't
And
let
by
other...
tourists, they mean hobos.
Yes, well, that's what hobos were back in the day. They were the national
now
tourists.
they're neighbors.
They're neighbors who are camping.
Yeah, neighbors who are camping next to your house.
Have a look at that. The Hobos Ethic Code, which it doesn't even come close to how the hobos are treating our cities now. But yeah.
Yeah, they used to have a code.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like be helpful, don't get in the way, don't do crappy stuff.
Now they feel entitled.
Oh, totally. When jungling in town, which I guess is what panhandling used to be called, respect handouts, do not wear them out. Another hobo will be coming along who will need them as bad, if not worse, than you. Always respect nature. Do not leave garbage where you are jungling. Maybe jungle from jungling. Yes. If in a community jungle, always pitch in and help.
Where it's the tent city.
Yeah, tent city. Yes, jungling. Try to stay clean, boil up wherever possible. When traveling, ride your train respectfully, take no personal chances, cause no problems with the operating crew or host railroad, act like an extra crew member. So there's all kinds of fine things to adhere to as a hobo.
Well, this proves that this problem is not new.
Oh, heck no.
So if it's not new, why is it such a problem now in certain specific Democrat-run cities like San Francisco and Austin and Seattle?
It appears because...
And Portland.
They want to transition people from hobos to camping neighbors. I think that's where the problem started. It doesn't solve anything for them. What?
There's something else that's bothersome and it's going on, and I can't put my finger on what it is, but it's too coincidental that we have these, and I don't want to just call out the Democrats on this, but these cities are all run by Democrats, and they all have this same exact problem, and they're all, I can't do anything about it, but this problem has been around forever, and it's always been dealt with in one way or another. Usually law enforcement does part of it.
Yeah,
because they're told that if somebody breaks your car window, like in San Francisco, maybe it should be taken up by the police, and maybe the guy who obviously did it because he's walking up the street could be arrested, and something could be done about it. But no,
the law enforcement,
you break a car window, no big deal.
The law enforcement has been neutered. They can't do anything, and that's consistent. Maybe this bill, this Affordable Housing Incentives Act, maybe that has something to do with it. When you think about the answer to, and I can only speak about Austin, but I think it's the same for other cities where this is happening: Portland, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle. You can keep going. It's always, the answer is always, we need more housing, more affordable housing. More housing. And what happens is you create the affordable housing, which the young people move into because they can't afford what's going on, and then the rents, the revenues for people who own and lease out real estate, they just keep making more money. So that's the only...
Somehow it's a real estate scam.
It seems like a real estate scam, and this Affordable Housing Act with no capital gains taxes could be part of that.
I would expect so. And I'm recalling the reports that we have here, which I'm not recording, but local news reports. One of the problems with the homelessness is because no one can afford a home in San Francisco, where the median house price, and they say this, and it's a good number, the median house price in San Francisco is $1.1 million.
Yeah.
Well, that's got nothing to do with homelessness. Nobody can afford those kinds of rates unless you're, that's why most people don't live in San Francisco, unless it's, it's just not affordable at all. But but it's not affordable in a lot of places. It's not affordable in Beverly Hills. They don't have a homeless encampment there.
Well, I think they have specific city ordinances there. So, yeah, and their real estate market is tightly controlled. They got it all. They don't need to have more real estate to sell. Austin is a fantastically expanding city. And, yeah, you just have to think that this is all a big real estate scam. Keep saying the answer is affordable housing. Oh my gosh, now they're camping everywhere because we dropped the ordinance. We need to speed up affordable housing. We need to get more money. We need to raise more money. How can we see it any other way? As a real estate scam.
The problem with it being a real estate scam is that this is an unhealthy condition they're creating.
Well, as the former New York banker said, things are so great they don't give a shit. Ha 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 ha. We got people pooping on the street. Ha ha ha. Who cares? Who cares? We're doing great. We don't live in the city.
Yeah, well, there's that. I think there's some truth to that.
I hate to do this on a sour note, but with that, I do want to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, the man who put the C and the D in the Centers for Disease Control, John C. Dvorak.
Well, in the morning to you, Mr. Adequate. In the morning, all ships at sea, boots on the ground, subs in the water, and all the dames and knights out there.
In the morning to the trolls in our troll room. They are to be found at noagendastream.com, where they are always hanging around, trolling mainly, but they often have good little suggestions. And that's the place where you can find all kinds of fine, entertaining shows, which you will not find in the mainstream anywhere. And it's on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. noagendastream.com. It's all a part of our Value for Value network, which I do want to talk about later. But these are things that people do to help us out, including what our artists will do. And artists make album art for our podcast so that it's different with every episode. It has shown to be very effective with getting people's attention. And for I don't know if we've had this happen before. 4 times in a row now, one artist, the one and only Darren O'Neill, has scored.
Mark JJ did this.
This was, now we had quite a combo about this. And by the way, the title of the show was Generational Justice, and Darren's artwork was a typical, it was, that's interesting. It was the No Vaping Papers, Please sign of the bathroom, which did relate to the show. But there was a number of things, and we have the trifecta that we like to pull together, which is the opening clip, we want a title, and we want a piece of art. And if at all possible, we don't want them to be the same. And
no crossing over.
Now you wanted, and I had to. No, okay, so there were 2 pieces of art we liked a lot. I liked the Nick the Rat, where the kid was drowning under a sea of lies, which would be the climate hoax. And you made a compelling argument to say it's just not a great idea to have drowning kids as our artwork.
Yes, that was, and you couldn't really argue that.
I couldn't.
You made similar points.
But I could argue against your chosen title, which is Bongo Bongo Land.
This was an error in judgment, but let's go back to Bongo Bongo Land, which was my choice for a title.
And I said, that's an incredibly racist thing that Brits like to say. So
I never knew this.
Yes, Bongo Bongo Land.
I thought that was just kind of an offhanded thing that this guy was bitching about because it came from a clip, Bongo Land.
Yeah.
And I thought it was the funniest thing I've ever heard because it's so ludicrously stupid sounding. And it turns out if you do some work and do some research, as I'll do right now.
Well, you can just go to Wikipedia. There's not a hell of a lot of research.
Yes. No, there's something good in Wikipedia that talks about this. Let me see if I can find it. I don't have it open.
In British English, Bongo Bongo Land is a pejorative term used to refer to third world countries, particularly in Africa, or to a fictional such country. And when did this start?
Well, this is the problem. There's no clear cut. When
85
moment when Bongo Bongo Land came up, and they think it was named. They think it may have been. Let me see if I can find this.
Oh, the president.
Yeah, this one, the president of Gabon, Omar Bongo, was his actual name.
Yeah.
One of these guys, one of the Alan Clark, a conservative, referred to Gabon as Bongo Land, meant because it was this guy's country, Omar Bongo.
Yeah.
Well, and that just deteriorated, apparently.
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is, you kind of have to give up. It's like decimated. We can bitch all we want, but people now use it to mean total destruction. And Bongo Land is just a racist term.
Well, so he didn't use Bongo Land.
It's not like
China is asshole.
I mean, that's not racist. Although, yes, go ahead.
So the point is that's one of the things we should recognize about the show. I mean, the two of us are different personalities, but we both we're skewed enough off of each other that we can spot the errors.
Yes.
I mean, we both
thank
make
goodness.
them.
Yeah, thank goodness.
And it's like I would have used Bongo Land, and everyone would have been condemning me. But no, he's squelching, and then he would have used the drowning child, which was another.
I don't think. Well, it didn't take much convincing for me to agree that probably wasn't a great idea with drowning children on the front of our podcast. No,
yeah. Although it was a good piece of art, Nick should have had that piece because it was a good piece. It worked, but it just had that element that was not appropriate. So,
and there were other ones, but these were really the toppers, and we really appreciate the work that everybody does on this. And this value for value system is just something I wanted to pause for just for a second. There was an article about this that I tweeted about, and very few people understood what I was saying. Surprisingly, a lot of big-time producers of this show also got enamored by the technology of it and didn't really understand the point. PodPass, proposal for an open protocol to enable direct listener relationships. And to summarize, PodPass is a technical way.
Well, stop. You're not backing up enough.
I'm not.
What is PodPass? Where did it come from? And why are you talking about
That's what I'm just about to explain it. I said PodPass is a technical way, and you told me to back up. How far back do you want me to go?
Where did you run into this? What is it about? I mean,
PodPass is a proposed protocol to enable podcasters to make money without, i.e., disintermediating Patreon and other companies like this. And
I read their paper, and I thought it was. For one thing, you're going to have to explain what this is in the first place, because this made zero sense to me, any of it. And I thought that they were kind of encouraging people to still use Patreon.
So they're proposing the solidification of a model, and the part that I liked is they say, hey, people are having a hard time making money with advertising on podcasts. Duh. Okay, you could have called me. I would have told you that. So they say the way it seems to work, which you and I disagree with, is to give away free content that people can listen to freely, and then have special membership bonus and premium content.
Yeah.
Which behind the special paywall. Now, why is this?
I don't know how we're disagreeing on this.
Hold on, let me finish.
Okay.
You and I aren't disagreeing. But I
thought you said we disagreed.
No, I said people who produce this podcast, not you. You're not a producer.
Okay. Oh no, this whole premium member. Oh, go on. I'll
okay, you'll jump in. So my point was, it's not about a technical solution. While I'm all for disintermediating Patreon and having you get the money yourself, what this does is something very, very, very evil, and it's the same thing that iTunes did with music. They unbundled the album and sold each track for 99 cents, making a song which takes a shitload of work for most people into a 99-cent piece of fucking candy. And so what these guys are saying is, you do your podcast, it has zero value, nothing, no value at all, and then for $5 a month, you can get all this other stuff. I'm like, this is the worst artificial marketing in the world. It does not let people determine the true value of the product. And that's what the value for value model does. And there are people like even Chris Wilson. Well, we can do it with this in JavaScript. It's not about the technology. Please see, it's a dead-end street. It's why would, even if you're making $100 million off of your premium content, why would you continue to make the shitty, no-value content, which everyone else can get? It's stupid. It's not the way to do it. This is where you weigh in.
There's a thing that comes and goes, which is this, why don't you do... I mean, it would work, by the way, with DH Unplugged, Horowitz and I could explain how it would work there. But in 99.999%...
Well, stock tips is a little different.
Stock tips is different. But on most shows, you have your content, and then and you see this on Patreon. Oh, become a Patreon, and then you can see our special content. Yeah. And they have like a little 10-minute bit that they do that's outside their show. And, people have told us that we should have done this before, and I always have the same response. Why? What exactly are we going to do? A second little show that only a few people listen to, that might have important content that now we may have to refer to that nobody else ever heard? Yeah. I mean, you can't have these mystery shows out in the middle of nowhere where you have references. Because this show is like a tangle of news analysis that goes back for a decade.
Over a decade.
You can't say, well, then in the show that nobody heard and you have no access to, we already discussed this topic. I mean, this makes zero sense to have this special little show that nobody gets to hear except a few people.
Yeah.
The Patreon people are suckers for this. I don't know that anybody even. If you sign up for example, Bryony's Congressional Dish to listen to her show,
does she have premium? Does she have premium episodes? Please tell me she doesn't do that.
I don't know that she does or doesn't, but I think she offers something, a little, one of the after hours kind of thing. Bill, after the show, Bill Maher continues on the podcast doing the show,
which is also free on Bill Maher.
But I don't think it's free. You have to be a Patreon. I mean, but the Patreon people I know Tom Merritt, you get this, you get this, you get that, you get to listen to this you would never get to listen to otherwise. It makes no sense to do that. You're hiding content from people. Yeah. Why are you doing a show and then hiding most of it from your main show, putting a little bitty 10 minutes of something else on the side?
Whereas
stock tips, it makes sense, but everything else, it makes zero sense.
Well, that's because it can be translated directly to money. And our show gives people lots of stock tips without even knowing it. I got an email from a guy who said, the minute you guys were talking about Juul and the Atria acquisition, he said, I bought stock in Atria immediately, and I'm doing great. And he says he's going to donate. But, so that's the kind of stuff we want to help with. But it never shows the true value. And that's why I was surprised that people got into huge technical conversations when I clearly said, what you want is you want the market. You want the people who produce the show with you to determine the value. And it's okay if it's nothing. It's okay if it's $1 a year. It's okay if it's $100,000. It's up to you. And that keeps everything and everybody honest, particularly when we just tell you everything transparently out in the open, which I think we should do right now.
Well, we could, and I should mention another thing that bothers me since we're on the grousing mode about regular, the podcast.
Well, I just don't want people to be led astray when there's a great way to do it, and people get, this is great.
Podcast verse.
I am the podfather. Listen to me.
This is the old, here's your offer. You can subscribe for $2 a month. It's like, why are you limiting people to anything, let alone this is so old fashioned. It's not like a magazine where, those costs are all valid. You can say, well, the magazine is going to cost $2.45 a month. Or $2.47 because you have the numbers down. It's like the $2 a month. What are you trying to accomplish? Why don't you let people pick their own damn number? Exactly. And it turns out that's what you want. And you have people picking numbers that are sometimes.
Oh, by the way,
$2 a month.
As I've been studying my Marshall McLuhan, and I've been watching after the last episode, I had no idea that you had studied him. I started reading Understanding Media. And when I say we, not you and I, the No Agenda family, all No Agenda producers in Gitmo Nation have succeeded in converting money into content. And that's because of this model. It's not something we intended, but when you see how people use numerology, specific donation amounts, you've turned a transaction into content. It's mind-blowing, except that no one really sees it that way, or we see it that way. That's something that is not done anywhere.
Well, I think it was intentional.
By you?
So our first guy is anonymous in Austin, Texas, $1,011.12, and he sent a check in with his note. A friend of mine hit me in the mouth when he invited me to the Austin meetup last March. By the time I arrived at the meetup, I had only listened to about 15 minutes of the No Agenda show. I was not really impressed with the show, but curious. Well, 15 minutes is not going to...
I'm also curious what show he listened to 15 minutes. But okay, continue.
It can happen. Some of the shows I can see some, that's boring. I did meet open-minded people at the meetup. Well, he was curious enough to go to the meetup. I thought that's kind of weird. I mean, how do you know about the meetup?
Well, no, he says a buddy of his dragged him to the meetup.
Oh, okay, I got it. I'm sorry. I'm not paying attention to what I'm reading. I did meet open-minded people, of course, and the group was impressed with the show, but the meetup, and the group was energetic. Sorry. Nonetheless, I had no interest in the two celebrity yahoos that everyone was fawning over. Oh, thanks for fawning over us.
The celebrity yahoos?
That's what he says.
Oh, it'd be me, I guess.
Not two celebrities. He says two celebrity yahoos. And those are two people. After the meetup, I gave the show a serious listen and would like to support it by becoming a knight. So he starts off with a big donation. Yeah. So this is right off the bat here. I find it the only thing that I regularly listen to now.
We hooked him.
The show notes are great. I consider any commentary that doesn't reference sources just a bunch of hot air. Hats off to the best podcasters in the universe. Please knight me. Did you get your pen out?
Oh, yes.
Get your pen out. I think he's on the list, but he says the extra here. Oh. Please knight me, Sir Henry of Flowerfield, at the round table. Please include a lactating wench and a rack of lamb.
Lactating wench and a rack of... Well, he certainly has slipped into the community with some comfort.
Yeah, no kidding. And he would like a little karma, and that would be concluded.
Well, fantastic. Thank you very much, sir-to-be. And let's see, get you a little karma. He didn't ask for a goat karma, so we'll just hand out some straight up and down.
You've got karma.
And I'll see you at the night table, the round table.
Sir Vito, meanwhile, from Evergreen, Colorado, thinks the show is worth $333.33. Just spent 8 hours at booth 33 at the Evergreen Chili Cookout to fundraise for local first responders. Got the message, signed up for the No Agenda Social immediately. Thanks for my last job's karma. The new gig started 9 weeks ago. Your pal, Sir Vito.
Congratulations, Sir Vito. And so there's a perfect example of oh, I did a JCD. Hold on.
You dropped the mic?
My mic came off the stand. That hasn't happened to me in a while. Oh, man.
What are you doing?
I'm putting it back on. There we go.
Okay.
Darn. Sorry about that.
Yeah, jinxed.
So there it is. There's a transaction as content. 33333. He got a 33. He got the message. Signed up for No Agenda Social. By the way, noagendasocial.com. Some people have said, well, I don't want to be a part of something that censors, because they've read something about Mastodon, and Mastodon itself, mastodon.social, says, we don't publish any Nazi websites. KKK, quadroons. But just because they don't list them doesn't mean that we don't work and doesn't work perfectly. So everyone's welcome to join noagendasocial.com. And thank you, Sir Vito. That's really appreciated.
First social executive producer would be Michael Howie in Calgary, Alberta, $265. Or 350.
These guys had a meetup. This is the first Calgary meetup last night. Yeah.
Yeah, they had a whole bunch of people there. So this 350, these guys be bumped up to the executive producer level.
Yeah, because they came in with
350 CAD donation in the name of the first Calgary meetup from last night. Great group, including 3 nights and 2 games.
I think they meant games.
I think.
Yeah.
But it says games. CAD 50 of the donation came from $50 of this donation came from Grimerica, who were there at the meetup.
Yeah, there was one of the guys from Grimerica tweeted a picture of him with my head on a stick, and he said, "Oh, at least I got to interview Adam at the meetup." So, yeah.
I thought you did. Didn't you just do them?
No, I have to do it. But it's always Saturday night.
Somebody else? Didn't you just do something?
No.
Oh, I thought you did.
No. Grimerica wants me to come, and I have to go on. It's just their timing is always 11 p.m. Saturday night. It's like, no.
Saturday night, and I just got paid. Just have them recorded anytime.
No,
They'll do it.
No, apparently not.
Hunter Lambden's on the list, $201.11. Hi, hello, John and Adam. My name is Hunter, a 24-year-old originally from the desert in Southern California, played college baseball at Northwest Missouri. And I've been listening for about a year. I'd like to note that my Uncle John in South Carolina introduced me to the show, and I'm glad to say that I'm no longer a douchebag. But I must say, you two are the only true place of news anymore. I finally said enough is enough. I have to give back. I'm migrating back west to my siblings in Phoenix here on the 16th of September, and would love some jobs karma and a recent college graduate looking for a career. Oh, he is a recent college graduate looking for a career. If anyone needs a rare NA type of millennial in the area, let me know. And he does have a...
why don't you, if you have something, it's a tough email address. So email me.
Well, I can say it. People can play it backwards if they want it.
Right.
But it looks like, is that an S? I guess it's an S528421. S5528421 at northwestmissouri.edu or nwmissouri.edu. Anyway, thanks again.
Yes. So I think he also deserves a de-douching if this is his first donation. And he wants
a de-douching and a
jobs karma.
You've been de-douched. Jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Paul Kroshulik, $201. Paul Kroshulik, Discover credit card has a 5% rebate on PayPal, so I thought I'd buy an associate executive producer credit.
you get five back, 5% back. Wow, 5%.
Yeah,
that's a good deal.
It is. I know. I've always thought about getting one of those. I don't like cards.
No. Thank you very much, Paul.
Thanks, Paul. Matthew Lomar, $200. He's mind adding myself the 11th for birthday and my mother the 12th for the birthday for this show. Wanted to add this on the note, but don't know if I screwed up or PayPal changed the ability to send notes with donations. Well, 73s.
73s to you. Kilo 5 Alpha Charlie.
You're on the list. Dame Pamela Haig in Allegheny, New York, 200. Jingles. Trump Space Force and Shut Up, Stop Raffing, and Goat Karma, please. Mm-hmm. I've been inspired by your situations in Austin and San Francisco. Your new exit strategy is this. Create an Uber-type system in which drivers answer calls from people who want to remove people experiencing homelessness from their community. The driver is then directed to take this person to one of the upscale communities. Please pitch in an extra $15 per person to give them a meal and a large cardboard box. Dame Pamela Haig from Allegheny, New York. That's not a bad idea.
That's a great idea. Sign up to my app. It's like, hey, you want some food? Yeah, you want a little ride? You want a ride?
Give you a ride. Free ride.
We laugh, but it's not really funny. But hell, what a great idea!
It's funny, but we laugh.
What does she need? Oh, she needs her jingles and a goat karma. Well, thank you very much, Dame Pamela. Support and exit ideas always appreciated.
Space Force, don't laugh. Why you are laughing? Shut up.
You've got
Shut
karma.
Up.
And last on our list with $200 is Anushka Blickwardy in Lafayette, California. And she sent a note in a check wishing you a hip, hip, hurrah, and give something in Dutch.
Well,
hip, hip, hoera en gefeliciteerd.
Oh, hip, hip, hoera en gefeliciteerd.
Exactly.
Yeah.
From a fellow Virgo who has been hit in the mouth by my sister Julie Blick. Well, it's probably Anushka's a guy, not a girl.
Possibly.
I'm guessing. Maybe. My sister Julie Blick from Heemstede. This summer. Yeah, Heemstede of 2017. I'm a bit overdue in donation, so here's my birthday gift to Adam and the show. And as I cannot get my smoking hot husband, now it is a woman.
Yep.
I knew it. Anushka. That's a woman's name. I cannot get my smoking hot husband. This is an interesting dilemma. I cannot get my smoking hot husband to get hooked on No Agenda. He will for sure not request a happy birthday wish to surprise me when listening to the show this Sunday. Therefore, I'm asking for a happy 55th birthday wish for myself on September 7th, hoping Adam will share the Dutch way of celebrating birthdays again.
Oh, boy.
With a good Dutch accent, please.
Hold on. I have to put her on the list now. Wait a second. What is her name? Anushka?
Anushka Blickwardy. Dashed. It's a dash name. Her last name was Blick.
B-L-I. Spell it.
B-L-I-K dash W-A-R-D-Y.
Blickwardy. What for naam is that now?
She's married to some guy who hates the show.
55. Thanks to the guy who hates the show.
Yeah.
Okay, Anushka, we do that. We do you a very happy hip hip hurrah today for you. Great. Fantastic.
Okay. And that is our last associate executive producer. I want to thank everybody for helping produce show 1171.
Yes, and for all who have donated in this segment, in this first segment, we like to do it like Hollywood. These are the amounts that get you an executive producership or an associate executive producership for this very show, for episode 1171. It's a title that you can use and can display proudly. Put it into your CV, your bio, put it on LinkedIn. People do respond to the title executive producer. If there's any question, we will vouch for you with great glee. And if you would like to support us, please remember us for our show on Sunday. Just go to Thursday. The second Thursday of the week. That's what I'm talking about. And of course, you learn that transactions can be content. Only here. Go propagate it.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth. Order.
Shut up, always confused with what the day is.
Well, talking about the, you have that little ISO you stuck in there. I have one. I took Boris Johnson, his little Twitter thing. I ISO'd one. The best I could do. I don't think I have anything better than this.
Oh, for end of show ISO?
Nah, you can give it a shot.
Thank you.
It's pretty simple.
Thank you.
I actually had one. Let me see. I had an ISO. And now I don't know where it's gone. It was part of a different...
Well, while you're doing that, I do contrasting Boris on Twitter to Trump, because he's like a Trump clone. Trump has also decided to put more videos on the Twitter, but I don't think they're quite as good as the Boris Twitter, because it's just essentially clips. But here's the Trump example of him on Twitter. He talking.
It was just announced that we had a record-setting jobs report for the month of August. And African-American jobs were the lowest unemployment rate in the history of our country. Likewise, Hispanic job report just came out. Lowest unemployment rate in the history of our country. The women are doing great. Asians also lowest in the history of our country. It's incredible what's happening. Our economy is strong. Our country is great. We've never been in a better position. More people are working today in the United States than at any time in the history of our country. Almost 160 million people. So to all fellow American citizens, I say one simple word. Congratulations.
Isn't it fantastic, though? Because we kind of gloss over it because we've been through it now for 4 years. That the President of the United States, that the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom surpassed the entire system, the editing, the soundbite culture, the really suppression or amplification of news that matters to certain stakeholders, and it goes straight to the people. That is something we just have to stop and admire for a moment.
Yeah.
That is
it's
really,
going to be the bane
really
of our existence eventually.
Well, now that may be true. I found the ISO I wanted to play for you. It actually pertains to the unhoused. KFI in Los Angeles, I think. Isn't it KFI or are they San Francisco? Yeah, Los Angeles.
KFI.
50,000 watts of power, KFI. So they do a morning show. And if you and I were doing a morning show in Los Angeles, you know that we would already have come up with, hey, John, let's have the Monday morning poop report. You know, and you talk about what poop is on the street, etc. So they have one of these.
The pictures are on both the website and the Instagram for KFI. And John Cobell took some pictures of a homeless encampment, a mile or two from your home?
Yeah, my wife called me this morning and says it's really bad today, and she ended up stepping in some poop. Because she went to a hairdresser appointment down the block, and she saw the guy who made the poop. He was standing nearby pulling his pants up. So it was a fresh loaf on the ground.
So I thought the ISO would be
fresh loaf on the ground.
Yeah, that's quite good.
That's quite the good ISO.
Fresh loaf on the ground.
Yeah, fresh loaf on the ground.
Fresh loaf. People, please. This is going too far. Oh, speaking of poop, I have our guy. Who's the reporter that sounds so constipated?
Oh, Jeff Pegues.
Jeff Pegues, yes.
Who's one of the best reporters I've concluded. I've said this before in case he ever gets irked about you calling him constipated. I think he's really he does some of the best packages. They're very objective, and he's not like a douche.
I've never said he wasn't objective or wasn't good. I'm just saying he sounds like he has to poop all the time. And there was a very underreported story about some sabotage on an American airliner, which, if had gone undetected by the air crew, could have had disastrous results.
An American Airlines mechanic appeared in Miami court today after being charged with sabotaging a jetliner. The plane was filled with passengers and set to take off. Jeff Pegues on what happened next.
At 10:30 a.m. on July 17th, American Airlines Flight 2830...
I mean, come on, man. The guy said, I'm going to tell you this story, but I don't know if I can make it.
10:30 a.m. on July 17th, American Airlines Flight 2834 pulled out of Gate 49 at Miami International Airport, headed for the Bahamas.
It's Tower American 2834. We got to work a maintenance issue here. Just had some lights come on.
But the pilots noticed a problem, and as the plane, with 150 people aboard, moved into position on the runway, they were forced to turn around.
We're going to have to return to the gate.
Investigators say American Airlines mechanic Abdul Mahid Maruf Ahmad Alani, who appeared in a Florida court today, was seen on surveillance video tampering with the plane's navigation systems just an hour before it was scheduled to depart. Investigators say Alani, who's worked for American since 1988, said that he tried to sabotage the plane because he was upset about a stalled contract dispute between his union and American Airlines, and that it had affected him financially. Investigators say that Alani told them that he hoped that by sabotaging the plane, he would get overtime to fix it. American Airlines calls all of this disturbing and says that it is cooperating with investigators. Nora.
Deeply disturbing.
Fresh loaf on the ground.
Deeply disturbing. I think it's very disturbing, and you hear a name which I think should have raised some questions.
I can't even repeat that guy's name. It goes on for days.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously bigoted and it's targeting a certain group. But yeah, when it comes to airlines, you have to kind of think that way since 9/11. Man, we're coming up on 9/11 again, aren't we?
Well, this guy's logic, this mechanic's logic is really sick. He thinks he's going to get some overtime.
Well, that's his excuse.
Well, I know it could be just a terrorist act.
Yeah. But you see, we can't even mention that on the M5M because that would be racist. We can't racist. We can't do that. I'd like to do a few OTG reports, if you don't mind. There's some very disturbing news, which so far has only been reported by Forbes. So, take that for what it's worth. But they call it an exclusive. That the feds have demanded from Apple and Google that they hand over the names, and that's about 10,000 plus users of a specific app. And this is the GunScope app for the Obsidian 4. Or I think it's Obsidian. And I believe this is some type of gun site that has a camera. You have a camera and then it's connected to your phone and then you can see that. Is that the idea? Are you familiar with this?
This is all news to me.
Oh, including this whole story.
Yes.
Okay. Own a rifle, got a scope it's the scope. Got a scope to go with it. The U.S. government, I'm reading from Forbes, might know soon who you are, where you live, and how to reach you. That's because the government wants Apple and Google to hand over names, phone numbers, and other identifying data of at least 10,000 users of a single GunScope app. It's an unprecedented move. Blah, 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 blah. According to an application for a court order filed by the Department of Justice on September 5th, investigators want information on users of Obsidian 4, a tool used to control rifle scopes made by night vision specialist American Technologies Network Corp. The app allows gun owners to get a live stream, take video, and calibrate their gun scope from either an Android or iPhone device. And so apparently they want all of the data. Now, I don't know if this data has been handed over. I don't know. I have not seen the application. There's no link to it in the story. But for sure, that's a problem.
So what's the problem?
Well, the problem is you are now getting the name. Well, here's one problem. These are 10,000 people who apparently have a gun.
Oh, I thought you meant the app was some sort of a problem.
Well,
you can't turn over people who have a gun. Well, maybe they just have a scope. It seems unlikely.
Yeah, sure. Just a scope.
But okay, but let's go back up a little bit and tell me, what is this? Does this scope got Bluetooth or something? It talks to your...
Yeah, I think it does.
It's a Bluetooth-enabled scope?
I think so. We could look at it.
And they want everyone who has the app, which presumably means you have the scope, unless you're just a nutcase and you just download apps about everything, there are people that collect them.
Sure.
Why does the government care about this? Is there some secret code in the scope, or is there something that we don't know about? There's some missing piece of this puzzle.
I'm trying to find the website for the scope, but of course, all you see now is this story. This is not a cheap scope. These things start at, holy crap, like $2,800.
Yeah, that sounds right.
That's a serious scope. So, Wi-Fi, GPS, Bluetooth. Oh yeah, this is the whole kit and caboodle. Digital thermal monocular. Got all kinds. Okay, so there's all kinds of versions of this. Yeah, it's the gun version of the Ring doorbell, I guess. But okay, so anyway, Forbes reports this. I don't know what it means. I don't know if it's been given, if they're going to block it, but it's something to.
Maybe they found that somebody killed someone using one of these scopes, some sniper, and
still is complete Fourth Amendment. Stay out of my shit.
I'm not arguing that point, but since there's third parties involved, the Fourth Amendment is really pretty loose. I mean, it's not like if Apple has the information on its servers about a shooting,
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's different. I think that is different, but that's not what they're asking.
That's what they're angling for.
No, they're saying we want all the names. We want everyone who has one of these scopes. We want to have and uses the app. We want to have their information.
Well, if Apple has that information and wants to give it to them, it's too bad for you if you're on that list.
Oh, of course.
Why'd you get on the list in the first place?
Of course. So it's more about, hey, what are Apple and Google going to do? But also, why does the government want it?
Something's amiss.
Next story. As of, I think, Monday. Is it Monday? I believe it happens Monday. You and I, John, will have to reprogram our over-the-air free TV channels.
What?
Yeah. What? So we often say...
They did a redistro? I never heard about it. I mean, where have I been hanging out?
Well, that's why we do the show together. The FCC has ordered about 1,000 over-the-air TV channels to reconfigure and move around, and this is to make room for 5G. So most places
5G got to do with OTG over the air OTA.
They gave up some of that frequency. The spectrum for 5G is being taken away from the digital over the air transmission. So that
5G is a millimeter wave product at its base. It's got nothing to do with these frequencies. Something's amiss.
A few years ago, the FCC auctioned off local spectrum, forcing many channels to switch channel numbers. This auction freed up space for things like 5G. Now the time has come for many Yeah, you're right. For many local TV stations to switch channel numbers starting now through the next year or so. 1,000 TV stations will be changing their TV channels, with many of them making the change this week or this fall, meaning you will need to rescan your antenna to stay up to date. So it is a spectrum issue. I'm not sure exactly who or what.
Well, the funny thing is typically the local news stations or the local stations will give you an announcement if there's a rescan necessary for your over-the-air. And we've heard nothing in the Bay Area.
Well, you guys are always West Coast, man. You're always a little bit behind. And
we're leading the way
in many aspects. There is there's a consortium of senators who are up in arms that the Department of Motor Vehicle in many states are selling off people's data. It doesn't surprise me.
This isn't new.
It's kind of surprising. The post office has given everyone my new address too, which I found disturbing. I get all kinds of emails and mail showing up here now.
They gave away your email address?
Oh, a home address.
You said emails.
Yeah, but I'm getting emails saying, hey, just for your convenience, we've changed to your new address. The post office told you that you changed. I didn't ask the post office to tell anyone that. I probably didn't check a box to say no.
Well, did you have forwarding from your old apartment?
Yes. But forwarding...
You did tell the post office.
No, that's purely for forwarding. And they put a sticker on it and goes to my new address. This is happening behind the scenes. This is happening with bank statements, with mainly utilities are automatically changing.
I'm not going to let you hide from the long arm of the law.
That's for sure. And then what do I have? Oh, yes. I've been all over these social scores, or what we call credit scores in America, which is really just a way of engineering people into good behavior. And I found a bill that has just been introduced, House of Representatives. Let me see who introduced this one. Mr. Hill of Arkansas. And this was referred to the Committee on Financial Services. It is the Credit Access and Inclusion Act of 2019. And so what we have, what we've uncovered is that these companies who are using a so-called credit report, which really has nothing to do with the official FICO, the FICO score, which is a very different credit agency, but now is kind of a mashup of the three. There was TransUnion, Equifax, and the one I never remember. and some other magic sauce thrown in. It's just really a number that's in an app, and the whole idea is to help you manage your credit, how much debt you are going to have, by giving you loans that are applicable to your situation. So it's really easing you into the great American system of debt. And this bill is intended to amend the Fair Credit Reporting Act to clarify federal law with respect to reporting certain positive consumer credit information to consumer reporting agencies. So the idea of these apps is they will help you raise your credit score, which is your social standing, your credit score. You need it for everything from getting a job to renting an apartment or purchasing a car, financing a car. You need that credit score to incorporate your behavior. And here's what is going to change. So as a positive, the following information should be added to credit reports if positive, and it should be reflected as such. It is, here we go, utilities, telecommunication services, and leasing information. So the term utility or telecommunication firm, of course, means services through public pipes, such as landline, wireless, cable, other connected facilities, radio, electronics, transmissions. Lease agreements, utilities, we have subject to the limitation and notwithstanding other provision of law, a person or the Secretary of HUD, Housing and Urban Development, may furnish to a consumer reporting agency information relating to the performance of a consumer in making payments under a lease agreement with respect to a dwelling, including such a lease for which the Department of Housing and Urban Development provides subsidized payments. So they're going to report into your credit score if you pay on time, especially if you're in some kind of subsidized housing, if you pay your cell phone bill on time, if you pay a utility bill on time. These are now going towards every single credit score, in effect, showing you have good behavior as a slave of Gitmo Nation.
Yeah. And that's targeting the poor.
And the poor and the young.
Yeah, the poor and the young.
Yeah.
Who else would be leasing of subsidized housing?
The meek. The poor, the young, and the meek.
Yeah, and they all have to snap too.
And just a reminder, Credit Karma, massive, if not main owner and investor, is Google. Stay away from them. If you can, stay away from these apps.
Stay away from Google.
But yeah, also don't try to buy anything like a house or a car. But I'm just saying, you can't live. I mean, we're being forced into it. And eat your bugs.
Eat bugs.
Shut up and eat your bugs.
Yes, eat bugs. You're in good shape.
Pay your bill. Pay your electric bill on time. Pay your cell phone bill on time. Pay your housing on time, and eat bugs. Yeah. That's basically what they're saying.
And Cinnabuns.
That's basically what they're saying. Yes.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about Kamala Harris.
Do we have to?
Yeah. Well, because she's fading and she's going to be out of this producer, so we won't be able to have any fun with her anymore. But I did dig up that clip of her talking about plastic straws and giggling like a 12-year-old.
Leaders have to lead. And
plastic straws are a big thing right now.
Yeah.
Do you ban plastic straws?
I think we should. Yes. I mean, look, I'm going to be honest. It's really difficult to drink out of a paper straw when if you don't gulp it down immediately, it starts to bend. Yes. And then, the little thing catches it. And then, so we got to kind of perfect that one a little bit more.
Dude, she's high. I'm telling you, she is high. This is a weed smoker's humor laugh.
So we got to kind of perfect that one a little bit more.
So you'd ban it, but rely on innovation.
I mean, we got it. Yeah, innovation is a process, right? You don't just do it. Innovation is a process, but let's encourage innovation, and I think we could do a little bit better than some of those flimsy plastic straws.
I'm calling it high. High as a kite.
This is funny you would say this because I never considered this as a possibility.
High as a kite.
I know the laugh. I know exactly what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And I never considered it. And she did giggle once about the fact that she does smoke pot, even though she doesn't mind throwing people in jail for doing the same thing, which is why she'll never get elected by anybody in their right mind. But that you're exactly right. That is the nervous, stupid, laugh at everything pot laugh.
Yeah.
When somebody's it's called
laugh.
It's a pot laugh. I don't even know what to call it, but there is it's like there used to be a term for pot about making you laugh a lot. It's like a laughing gas thing, but
we call it a laugh kick.
Good call.
It's
I'm glad I played the clip now.
Yeah, me too. I mean, when you're talking about a straw and you're cracking up like that, you're high. This is what we do.
You gotta be. That's funny. Okay, well, now we got that settled. Now, the other thing is this controversy over somebody calling Trump retarded at one of the Kamala's.
Yes.
So she goes on and says, no, it's bad. You can't use that word, and it's not a good. You can't say mentally retarded was the exact phrase by some Indian guy, and she's oh no, I don't even remember hearing that, and she makes a big stink about it and backs off. She's a wimp, by the way, which is again she's never going to get elected to anything. She won't stand up for herself because I have the clip of the guy calling Trump mentally retarded. She clearly hears it.
What happened to people of color? So I don't buy that argument that impeachment does not make sense, Senate will acquit. I don't buy that argument. There needs to be accountability. I mean, what are you going to do in the next 1 year to diminish the mentally retarded action of this guy?
Well said. Well said. I plan to win this election, I'll tell you that.
Now, if I may. Now, the headline that I read everywhere is the guy called Trump mentally retarded. That's not true. He said mentally retarded action.
Yes.
So he
never said Trump
that's a little different. Two, Kamala Harris is half Indian. She understands this very well.
Good point.
She's half Indian. She understands the accent.
Half Indian. She's in that subculture.
Total horseshit that she didn't hear.
Milieu of Indians makes that. And that guy's accent was thicker than the one I do when I do one.
Now, he could have been Pakistani, but still, I think Kamala Harris would have understood
It's the
both.
same accent. And
it's a different dot.
And so she heard him very clearly. And she said, well said, and then did her high giggle again.
Right, but third, it is not socially acceptable to use the R word. Where is that in the convo? You're not allowed to say retarded.
That is in the convo, I think. That's why she backed off so quickly. Well, she didn't, the whole thing is ridiculous.
I haven't heard any clips of her backing. Well, she's done. But she's done because she just says yes to everything. Do we need to ban straws? Yes, I think we should. We need to have that conversation. Do we need to let everyone in jail free? Yes, I think we need to have that conversation. Now, the real news, to me at least, is Liz Warren siding up with Hillary Clinton. They're talking behind the scenes, which I find fascinating. Let me see. This is NBC News. Warren and Clinton talk behind the scenes as 2020 race intensifies. Analysis. Neither camp wants to talk about it, but the two women have recently grown closer. Now, if I may hand out some advice, Elizabeth Warren, you should not get into hot tubs. You should not fly any small aviation. You should definitely not go canoeing in any waters in D.C. The Hag team is out for you. The Hillary assassination group has their eye on you. What other reason would Hillary have for being close to Elizabeth than to kill her and then go, oh, wow, I was so close to her. I'll have to step in.
Well, I think those days are over.
What, the killing days or the stepping in days?
I think the killing days. The stepping in days are still with us.
Well, she's going to undermine Warren. Something is going to happen. Why would you trust Hillary Clinton in your camp?
Well, first of all, this is an NBC report.
Yeah.
and that notoriously Democrat, they may be playing some game on us to get Hillary's name back into play.
Oh, that could be true. Again. Yeah, that could be true. Let me see. RT, which of course would be anti-Hillary. Hillary Clinton and Elizabeth Warren's secret talks ignite outrage and mockery on social media. So it's all reportedly. Oh, they refer to the NBC report. Okay, so it's all an NBC job. But there's no denying. There's no denials of it from Lizzie or Hilly.
That doesn't mean they didn't deny it. It's just it hasn't been reported.
Yes, I haven't seen it yet. But I find it an interesting change in her name. The bottom line is Hillary Clinton's name is back in the news in relation to the 2020 election and in with one of the front runners, if not the front runner.
Well, it's apparent to me at this point, although I'm going to wait for the third debate, which is coming around the corner. It's coming right. It's coming.
It's coming up. I do have a...
I'm just going to say that NBC in particular, so is the New York Times, they're all decided to turn their attention to. They've given up on Joe.
Yeah,
I think we're going to see his numbers start to plummet. And some of the polls came out recently with Joe already plummeting, but then they pulled them back because we don't release that one yet.
Really?
Though, they got to roll it out so it doesn't look ridiculous. So it's going to have to be lower and lower. It's got to be ratcheted down. It can't just drop like a rock.
Right.
And so they're going to bring him down. They're going to push Elizabeth to the top, and who's just with her arms waving all over the place. And then they're going to have to decide whether Hillary's going to step in. In other words, she has to show herself as being a very strong candidate.
Well, she definitely has friends in the State Department. I rarely see a Judicial Watch video, and Tom Fitton has been doing his videos for a while now, and usually they're pretty boring. You got to kind of skip through them. But this was the opening of his Judicial Watch, and I like Judicial Watch. They're a bunch of lawyers, and they're trying to do stuff. Now, of course, they're very right wing, very anti-Hillary Clinton. And here is the latest opening from Tom Fitton, the CEO of Judicial Watch, his latest video.
We were in court last week trying to get additional discovery. The court wanted an update on discovery. We said we needed more. And who was there fighting us? The Justice Department, protecting Hillary Clinton on her emails in Benghazi. So last week, the Justice Department is protecting Hillary Clinton. This week, the Justice Department is confirmed to have given James Comey a get-out-of-jail-free card. Do you share my concerns? The Justice Department was attacking Judicial Watch? Yes, the Justice Department was attacking Judicial Watch for wanting to ask additional questions about one of the most significant government corruption scandals in recent American history, the Clinton email case. Which, by the way, is the very basis for the Russiagate case because they needed the Russiagate scam on President Trump to keep the Clinton email issue suppressed and to protect her.
Okay. So he has little faith in the Justice Department led by that bastion of truth, William Barr, Mr. 9/11. Speaking of...
well, at this point, I have to assume, and let's go back to the Clinton era when she was in the State Department doing whatever she was doing besides hiding emails, and supposedly got into a plane wreck in Iran, killing one of her aides, who was then mysteriously shown to be dead under some other bullcrap circumstance. And she hurt herself in that plane wreck and cracked her head, which caused these issues where she had to wear the weird eyeglasses and all the rest until she kind of healed, which they blamed on her falling down in her office, which makes no sense.
I think it wasn't the bathroom or something.
Yeah, or something. And so she's been in this healing process from this concussion, apparent concussion from this plane wreck, and for secret negotiations going on. There's so much. I think there was so much left undone in the Obama administration that was
Barr needed to go in to clean it up.
There's that element, and there's
Mueller.
A bunch of other stuff that just needed to. It's all a cover up for something that we never know about, including the Hillary plane crash, which nobody wants to talk about any of this stuff because there was some underhanded dealing going on, or some maybe.
Well, I think that was perhaps the Uranium One deal or something. something going on with that. Yeah.
There's a lot going on, and they're just not going to tell us what it is or what it was, and Trump's not going to tell us.
And Mueller came in. Mueller covered up the stuff he needed to, and he was kind of failing at it and didn't do a good job. And then Barr comes in, and there's some sacrificial lambs here and there. We're throwing out. We should probably talk about that there, but we should talk about the MIT Media Lab again. Joey Ito resigned.
Oh yeah, well, I think he had to.
Oh yeah, but it's gotten pretty nasty. What's been going on there? But let's stay with the 2020 candidates for a second. Biden, another gaffe, which he recovered from nicely. Good recovery, and then he screwed it up.
We cannot, and I will not, let this man be reelected president of the United States of America. Limited to 4 years, I believe history will look back in this presidency as an aberrant moment in time. But if Donald Trump is reelected, Freudian slip. If Donald Trump is reelected.
So you see, he did a good job. He called Trump hump, and then he recovered, Freudian slip, funny, and then listen to what happens.
If Donald Trump is reelected, Freudian slip. If Donald Trump is reelected, he will forever and fundamentally alter the character of this nation. Donald Trump does pose an extra threat to this. It's not hypothetical, his threat to this nation.
So we can't say existential. Fuck it, I'm going to give up. It's not a hypothetical.
Donald Trump does pose an extra threat to this. It's not hypothetical, his threat to this nation. He does.
You can hear the crowd go, oh,
so close.
So, Joe, you almost had the sound bite of the day. No. And to make the wrestling circus more complete, the mooch is out doing interviews anywhere he can get an interview.
I believe that Donald Trump will not be the Republican nominee. I'm not saying that the current announced candidates against him will be, but I think he's in severe mental decline. And I think he's severely impaired at this point.
Yeah.
And I think that they're going to say, hey, you pitched 5 or 6 good innings. The ball's going over the backstop now. You got to take a powder because you can't put sentences together anymore.
Now, you spoke to Mooch.
By the way, I have a longer clip of him going off on Trump on the CBC. He's been up in Toronto, and so the Canadians love. Let's bring him on and yak. You don't have to play it.
Do you have it here?
You got the gist of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I spoke to him.
Right, but I mean, he was
something's amiss.
But go ahead.
You don't be. He was a. I wouldn't call him a Trump apologist, but he was not. He wasn't doing this. There's something he's doing this for some reason, because he just switched, just like he switched the flipped a switch. Me and Joe Biden. Where's my vitamin B12? He flipped a switch and became this Trump. Well, now you can play my clip from the CBC, which shows a little more evidence of this.
Which one is it?
It says Scaramouche or something.
Yes, got it.
Is the president the same behind the scenes as he is in front of the cameras?
Well, I mean, listen, I haven't seen him in a long time. It's been probably a year since I've seen him face to face. But I can tell you, and people are critical of me. They're saying, well, he's acting the exact same way that he did in 2016 or 17. Why are you breaking him from him now? There's absolutely no difference. And so I can accept that criticism, but I actually think it has gotten worse. And I think there's objective standards to look at, whether it's his personal mannerisms, his communication style, some of the things he's now doing on Twitter, equating President Xi, for example, to Jerome Powell and saying, who is the bigger enemy of the United States?
See, that's where he has his beef. I think he has his beef with Trump going after Powell. It's a financial thing.
Actually, that's one beef, and I think it's because he's in that business.
Yes.
But the real beef is actually the next one.
I mean, this is stuff that is, I think, way outside of the even normalcy for President Trump. And so for me, enough was enough. The red line for me was really with the congresswomen using those racist tropes in a Twitter feed is nonsensical from the leader of the free world and somebody that is running a country whose first name is United. And so they told my grandparents that 100 years ago, and I spoke out against that. He didn't like that, and since he's a demagogue, you can't be in 7/10 support for him or 8/10 support. You've got to be like some of these Fox News announcers. You've got to be in 11/10 support for Trump. And so I can't do that. I can't disavow my personal history or my integrity or things about my life to try to give somebody a level of loyalty that they don't deserve. And so I spoke out about it, and I think the situation has gotten worse. I said that Jonathan Swan from Axios a few weeks back, that he's in full-blown meltdown. It's like the episodes of Chernobyl where the reactor...
Talk about a nut job equivalency. It's Xi and Powell or Trump and Chernobyl. Okay.
Full-blown meltdown. It's like the episodes of Chernobyl where the reactor's melting down, and now people are trying to figure out whether they're going to cover it up or they're going to clean it up. And so as a good standing Republican, I'm calling on Republican elected officials. We have to clean this up. We have to clean it up on behalf of our children, on behalf of our country, and let's face it, on behalf of the world. And so I'm hoping that happens.
So what was the second issue then, according to you?
What he said. He says the red line for me is when he went after those congresswomen, the Arab, the women of color.
Yeah.
And then he says this is the kind of thing that my grandfather had to go through when the Italians came over, and he felt that was the real thing that bugged him. I know. It sounds like to
me it sounds like he's.
But that's what he said. He said that was his red line.
Yes. To me, it sounds a lot more like he's working for Trump and doing a WWE scam. Like, here's the bad guy. He's out there outside the ring yelling.
I believe what you just said right there is absolutely probably.
Yeah, he's like one of the Samoans.
Absolutely probably.
Yeah, one of the Samoan brothers. Yes,
it makes sense because WWE and that Trump is from that school of thought, having even been in the ring.
Yeah, of course. One last thing I wanted to mention about the Biden clip. I just want to go back to it. There's something that I've been noticing, and some producers have mentioned this to me as well. As you know, I'm a real stickler for the lack of saying our country. Everywhere you turn on the news, it's this country. It's bad for this country, this country, this country. Very few people say our country. That's one of the things I liked about Trump from the beginning is he said our country. And I've been on this for a long time. And I've noticed now, and I think it's in this Joe Biden clip, the Democrats, they say something different. They always talk about this country. We need comprehensive gun reform for this country. We need comprehensive immigration for this country. But when it comes to something else...
We cannot, and I will not, let this man be reelected president of the United States of America. Limited to 4 years, I believe history will look back in this presidency as an aberrant moment in time. But if Donald Trump is reelected, Freudian slip, if Donald Trump is reelected, he will forever and fundamentally alter the character of this nation. Donald Trump does pose an extra threat to this. It's not hypothetical, his threat to this nation. He does pose a real threat. The core values of this nation, our standing in the world, our very democracy. Everything that's made America.
That is it. This nation, this country. But they always say, our democracy. We don't have a democracy. You see the subtle difference?
Oh, no, I think this is a good little examination here.
And I think
we should start looking at this with all these people.
And just now that I'm thinking of it, the Democrats always talk about it's bad for our democracy. We don't have a democracy. We have a republic. You can say democratic republic, even to stretch it a little bit, but that's always this country, this nation, our democracy. Maybe it's ant-fucking, but I think it's an important difference.
A little bit.
Words matter.
But I like this nation thing that you pick up on because he said it about 4 times in there.
And then our democracy.
This nation, our country, our democracy.
Our democracy.
Now, he could say our nation, but he doesn't. He says this nation.
And our democracy. Words matter. Finally, before we take a break from a podcast, Nick Gillespie of the Reason magazine interviewed Nick Tombolides, executive director of the United States Term Limits Association, or what is it? Anyway, some group that wants to have term limits, and he makes a very good point.
And for U.S. term limits, you guys are pushing for what would be the limits? How many times could you serve in Congress and the House of Representatives? How long could you serve in the Senate?
So my personal preference is 1 term in office, 1 in prison.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda. In the morning.
And starting with the zinger, we do have some people to thank for show 1171, beginning with Dame Jennifer, who comes in with $100 and is supposed to be it's to be applied toward the knighthood of Kevin Dandridge.
Very good. Keep a track of it for us.
As you do that, everyone will be happy. Dick Monda, 9350, requests a de-douching.
You've been de-douched.
He wrote a nice little note in, too. Russ Curry in Rego Park, New York, 8008. Katerina Almeida, 6969. Surgot Nate in Sebastopol, California, 6969. Baron Mark Tanner in Whittier, California, are twice-a-month donor. I think a couple other people I've noticed are doing twice a month. 6789. Brian Pearson, 6666. Black Knight, Sir Lineman of the Net, again. Happy belated birthday to Adam from Black Knight, Sir Lineman of the Net.
Thank you.
5555.
Double nickels.
Matthew Dorneman in Lincoln, Nebraska. 5531.
He said, you don't. I know you don't always read these lower donation notes on air, but I missed Adam's birthday due to my mom passing away at age 66. Oh man, mine passed at 65. It sucks. She battled cancer for 7 years, never complained, was always happy. The 31 cents is for my brother who died shortly after being born premature. This is a downer note. He wants an F cancer. Of course, we'll get that for you. And thank you for supporting us, Matthew.
Downer note. And you read it. Jeff Kenyon in Clontarf, Australia,
Queensland.
Yeah, 5526. And he got a birthday call out for his son. Sir Sapien, 5510, needs a de-douching.
Okay. Well, I did it now.
De-douched.
I did it now. He's been de-douched.
Yeah, but he's been de-douched. But he needs to. No, that de-douching went. Okay. This donation for his smoking hot wife, Dame Stitch. That's the de-douching was for her.
Ah, okay. After 11 years of me hitting her in the mouth, she has finally come around. Jobs karma for her. Yes, got it. Coming up.
Tom Dari in DeForest, Wisconsin, 5510. Lynn Kissig in Newark, Delaware, 5510. Stephanie Sprague in Somerset, New Jersey. Happy birthday, Adam.
Thank you.
55. There's another birthday. These are birthday donations, a couple leftovers. And Adriana Oporto.
It's also from Stephanie's 11-year-old son, Nicholas, who I'm sure is listening and happy to hear
that. Pierre Moss, $55. Best wishes to Adam.
He's been listening since episode 1. Holy crap.
You've been de-douched.
Small retailer, he says. It's tough. Yes, of course. Thank you, Pierre.
Sarah Gibbons in Baton Rouge. Happy birthday. 55. Sir William Wallace, Knight of the Palmetto State, came in with 55, and that was, I think, that'll be the end of your well wishers.
Mm-hmm.
Says 1169 had me cracking up. You guys report on what's happening as best as always. That's why the best podcast. That's why it's the best podcast in the universe. Happy birthday!
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a fact. Nancy Murphy, 5244. Eric Hokel in Mulrose, Deutschland, 52. And the old problem is returned.
Although, for the first time, Mulrose came through.
Yeah, Melrose came.
We always thought it was Munich because that was usually,
it was just M with a mess.
Unibiting, double biting coded nightmare. And now we know that his name is Eric Hook. Well, anyway, he's been around with us for a long time. Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, he's a knight. He's Sir Eric.
Yes.
Valerie Steensland, 50. The following donors are $50 donors, name and location. A few more than last time, but not that many. Robert Drykason in Oshkosh, Bagosh, Wisconsin, 50. Heather Rodriguez in Stockton. Edward Mazurek in Memphis, Tennessee. Jonathan Meyer in Xenia, Ohio. Sir Todd in Tambourine, Queensland, Australia, another Aussie. Tony Smith in Fort Worth, Texas. Larry Hay in Mooresville, North Carolina. I hope you weathered the storm.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Zinneman in South Euclid, Ohio. Sir Scott Farrell in OKC, Oklahoma City.
Sir Brett
and
Farrell.
last but not least, Sir Jason Deluzio in Chatsford, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
I want to thank all these folks for producing show 1171.
Yes, it's Sir Brett Farrell, not Sir Scott Farrell. Thank you all.
I said Scott?
Yeah, you did. It's all right. It's just slipped out.
Sir Brett Farrell, sorry.
Yes, it's our Sir Brett Farrell. Thank you to these producers who have supported us once again, and we have a couple people joining the roundtable, which is nice. These are the people who keep the show going. It is a part of our Value for Value network. We talked about that extensively in the first break. You're producing it, and this is how you produced. And there's many ways people help, but this certainly keeps the two hosts of the show going. So thank you very much. And also thanks to everyone who came in under $50, even the $3 person who's down at the bottom. I saw a 1 penny the other day on the list.
Yeah, there's some guy who donates a penny,
which costs us
It
costs us 2 pennies.
It gets pulled, but PayPal takes the penny. You must just send $1.
Just send money to PayPal instead. But thank you very much. It keeps it going. And we hope you will consider us again for the next episode, which will be on the second Thursday of the week. Go to Dvorak.org/NA. Number of Karmas as requested.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. You've got karma.
Today being the 8th of September 2019, here's your list of birthdays. Jeff Kenyon says happy birthday to his son Jake Kenyon, turning 26 today. Sir Sapien says happy birthday to his smoking hot wife. She also celebrates today. Sir Marty Williamson says happy birthday to his daughter Rachel, 26 on the 10th of September. Matthew Lomar will be celebrating on the 11th, and Matthew Lomar's mom, who he says happy birthday to, will be celebrating on September 12th. And finally, Anushka Bilkwardi turns 55. Happy birthday from all your friends and lovers here at the best podcast in the universe. And well-timed schnoz. Yes. Yes, the meetups. You heard a very successful meetup in Vancouver. That was their first one. A quick rundown of what's going on with these meetings of like-minded people. It's like a party. Here's a quick list what's coming up in September. On the 11th in Orlando, 6 p.m., Grumpy's Underground Lounge and Eatery. Christian's Coffins is hosting that. It was also his birthday. On the 14th, Saturday in El Paso, Las Cruces. That'll be 2:30 at the Happy Monk in El Paso. Come sip cocktails while watching migrants try to climb the wall. So they say, says the amazing Jen, who was hosting. Saturday the 14th, Pittsburgh, 6 o'clock at the Riverhounds game. This is the soccer game. They've had one there before. Meet in the parking lot about an hour before the game. After the game, go either to the Station Square or the Plaza with and the Hard Rock Cafe in it. Sir Ryan Brady is your host. Thursday the 19th, Toronto Meetup, MEAT, 5 p.m. Come out to meet Toronto's finest No Agenda friends. Bishop India Tango Mike, Sir Dwight the Knight. At the Chick-fil-A at Toronto, because according to the host, protesting sandwiches is a big waste of time. Friday the 20th in Nelson, British Columbia, 6 p.m. at the Central, it's the Backroads Brewing at Nelson, British Columbia. Look for Matt Burns in the red ball cap and say, in the morning, eh? Friday the 20th, Southeast London. This is the fourth one for them. A Pint of Privilege is the title of it. 6 o'clock. Free beverage for anyone who can recite the Gitmo Nation national anthem in full. Oh, there's a challenge. Your host is GWFF. He invites you to ponder and pontificate at the Real Ale Way in London in Kent. On the 20th, Friday, Oregon Local 33 in Portland, Salem. That's their third meetup, 6:30. That'll be at the Wilsonville, Oregon, the Noodles and Company. Look out for Noodles Boy. They'll have a special No Agenda Wheel of Fortune game. Tim is organizing, executive producer of episode 962. Saturday the 21st, Eastern North Carolina, 3:30 in the afternoon. No Agenda Shills of Eastern North Carolina time to join us, hosted by David Fox at the Cleveland Draft House in Garner, North Carolina. Hopefully the weather is better by then. Saturday the 21st, we have the No Agenda Minneapolis meetup, 5 o'clock. Dr. Hammer invites all No Agenda slaves to the Able Seed House and Brewery in Logan Park, Minneapolis. The 21st, the Sycon Val Secret Santa Cruz Mountains meetup, 3:30 in the afternoon. The Baron of Silicon Valley will be hosting that for you at a secret location, but go to noagendameetups.com for details. You can also RSVP now. And please provide a method for private contact. Ooh, sounds kind of scary there. Bloody Marys and Bacon Sunday the next morning on the 22nd. And finally, we have the Arlington, Virginia meetup and voter registration at noon on Sunday the 22nd. Brunch, brews, and update your voter registration or absentee ballot applications. Meet at the upstairs bar at Cafe Pizzaiolo in Shirlington. Bill Patterson is your host. If you've never been to a No Agenda meetup, I highly recommend you go to one. It's kind of like a high school reunion, but you like everybody, and there's no anger. It's just a nice place to hang out with people who won't get triggered, and you all have something in common, which is you are all slaves of Gitmo Nation. Go to noagendameetups.com to find out more, or to create your own, noagendameetups.com. Here's my blade, 2 nightings on deck. Do you have yours, John?
Got it.
You walked to the bathroom, didn't you bastard? Michael Fulgenzi and Anonymous. Hop on up to the podium, gentlemen. You two are about to be inducted to the No Agenda Roundtable of our Knights and Dames. Thanks to your support of the show in the amount of $1,000 or more, I am particularly proud to pronounce the KB, Sir Plus of the Queen City and Sir Henry of the Flower Field. Gentlemen, for you, we've got hookers and blow, rent boys and Chardonnay, a lactating wench and a rack of lamb, Dr. Pepper and a quick handy, bourbon and bong rips, beers and blunts, geishas and sake, vodka and vanilla, bong hits and bourbon, sparkling cider and escorts, ginger ale and gerbils, breast milk and paladum, cowgirls and coffin varnish, and of course we have our mutton and meat. Go to noagendanation.com/rings. Eric the Shill will take care of you and get that out to you as soon as possible. Also in the show notes for today, I have the link. Where did I put it here? I have the link to the No Agenda Ring nightstand so you can put it on your 3D printer. Which is a very cool project.
Well, actually, there's 2 versions of this.
Oh no,
there's one that does
one.
it in pieces, and there's the new one, which is the one that's in the photo, that prints the whole thing without the extra, with the frame being outside of it.
So what's the one that PD Daddy Love did? Is that the new one?
He's the one that did them both, I think.
Oh, he did both of them?
I think but the new one is the one that prints the whole thing as one solid piece. Anyway, there's a little frame you can put your little document in there, and you put the ring on the little thing. It has
a spot for the sealing wax. It's very, very, very. It's a cool project. It's a cool,
nerdy project if you have a 3D printer. Exactly. Or access. You can go to a make place and get one of the really good 3D printers, and the thing would be dynamite.
Yeah, make it out of aluminum.
High resolution.
We needed to talk before we went to our donations. There was something we needed to talk about. It was important.
Well, while you're waiting for that, I do have a clip we can play in the meantime.
Okay.
Which is some little bit of unknown news. They've ever heard about this. Nobody's talking about it. It was played on PBS. None of the mainstream people picked it up. And I thought it'd be worth at least playing, which is the weird Ukraine-Russian people trade.
Russia and Ukraine freed prisoners today in an exchange that Ukraine's president called the first step to stop the fighting in eastern Ukraine that has killed more than 13,000 people since 2014. Planes took off from Moscow and Kiev at almost the same time today, carrying 35 prisoners each. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky welcomed home 24 Ukrainian sailors Russia captured last year, along with 11 other prisoners. The freed Russian prisoners included a journalist accused of treason and a suspect in the downing of a Malaysia Airlines flight over eastern Ukraine in 2014 that killed 298 people.
Now, of course, we don't want to talk about too much about Ukraine anymore because the president is a comic. And since he got elected, he's the comedian. They elected a comedian, an actor, who is a comedic actor, as president of the country. And in his acting role, he played the president of the country. And everyone seemed to like the job he did as an actor. So they made him the real president. And this is this flies in the face of all liberal thinking. Yeah. And so now Ukraine's been taken off don't talk about that. Jeez, then we have to talk about this guy. And so anything that involves Ukraine, and this was a kind of a positive step forward, I think, except for the journalist, was the journalist that was shipped from Ukraine to Russia. Was he did he commit treason in Russia and then go to Ukraine to get away from it? And they're just going to shoot him? I mean, is that what they're doing here? I don't know. They don't explain any of this. Yeah, but we're going to get very little news from now on out.
Nothing at all.
Because of this new president who's a comedian.
That's the best part.
Yeah.
That's a very good practice. I think we should do more of that because comedians tend to tell the truth. It's kind of the basis of their existence.
Elect Rob Reiner.
Okay, I just unlike the idea.
Okay.
Good. Robert Mugabe died.
Yes, I have a clip.
Oh, good, because I have a clip too. We'll play yours first. What do you have?
It's just an overview. Okay. Mugabe dead.
This image of a young Robert Mugabe leading his people from the tyranny of white minority rule lives at a burial ground called Heroes Acre on the outskirts of Harare. It was that freedom fighter image that fed the cult of personality that saw Mugabe through 37 years in power.
He deserves his place in history for that heroic status. But then, when he had the chance to lead his country, as he'd promised on becoming president, to a new, better future, he did the very reverse.
Early promise with a focus on education was replaced by an emerging brutality, fueled by personal greed and sustained by violence and corruption. He lived a life of extravagant opulence while his people stood in bread lines, and his political opponents languished in jail. Tindai Biti was one of them, tortured, he says. He was part of a brief power-sharing government between Mugabe and the opposition.
Having to sit in the same room with the person who had done this to me. I can't say I forgave him. I move on.
10 tanks. So too did the country, finally, in 2017.
You know, if you want any type of Africa news, and I'm not saying it's correct news, you always want to go to BBC World because they seem to pretty much have 80% programming about Africa all the time. And then they have it's BBC America, I guess. It's always Africa news. And they interviewed this farmer whose farm was taken away by Mugabe. In fact, his dad died in the struggle. It was a horrible story. But there was something that he said that No Agenda Nation will, that your ears will perk up when you listen to this.
Death in Singapore at the age of 95 comes nearly 2 years after he was forced out of power. Ben Freeth is on the line. He had a farm in Zimbabwe, but it was burnt down by Mugabe's supporters after he tried to take the then president to court when he was served an eviction notice. Thanks for being with us. I wonder what words you would use to describe Robert Mugabe.
Well, I think he was a genius, an evil genius. Who managed to retain power for many years for his own ends, but in the process destroyed his country and the lives of so many people in it. I met him a couple of times, but I remember one occasion very particularly where I was asked to make a speech in front of quite a few thousand people out in a rural area on a very hot day in Mugabe's presence. And the crowd really enjoyed what I had to say. I talked about a piano and how a piano had black keys and white keys, and a great player was able to play that piano with those black keys and white keys in great harmony. And the crowd really loved that. But Mugabe clearly hated what I had to say. And I went to shake his hand afterwards, and his hand was cold and clammy and reptilian, in fact, on that very hot day. And I will take that touch of his hand to my grave. It was uncanny. It was very, very strange.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that would explain him dying at 95 after being such an evil person.
Yes, that's what all reptiles live a long time.
Yeah, they always get to at least 90, 95, easy.
And also, it was a very hot day.
It's not 100.
Who else is cold and does not transpire when it's hot?
Yeah, that's Hillary. She doesn't sweat.
And Obama. Both.
Oh, I didn't know that Obama didn't sweat.
Yeah, remember Reggie Love, his body man?
Yeah.
He did an interview. He said, "Yeah, I couldn't believe whenever we were in the Beast, Obama would turn off the air conditioner and laugh at him as he was sweating. Obama did not sweat. Hillary did not sweat. Reptiles. So the guy won't forget it. Obviously, it felt like a reptile.
Yeah, it probably was.
I have a question, a journalistic question, which comes after this two-parter. This is NPR with a surprisingly accurate report. Although the report comes from Louise Beckett from The Guardian, kind of surprising it comes from The Guardian as well, about the actual numbers of gun violence in the United States. After this clip, I have a second one with a question about journalism, which I hope you'll be able to help me with.
Our whole gun violence conversation is driven by mass shootings, which are incredibly horrific and statistically still, even now, very rare events. If you look at the people who are dying from gunshot wounds in this country, it is primarily people dying from suicide. That's 2/3 of it. And people dying in everyday shootings in local cities and places where there has been concentrated gun violence for decades. And mass shooting victims make up maybe 1 or 2%. So we continue to have the same conversation over and over, trying to prevent 1% of people from dying and not caring about the other 99%. Those students from Parkland, Florida, were the first gun violence prevention group to really say clearly and explicitly that the American gun control debate has been racist for decades, that black and brown kids who were dying outside of school were not getting the same attention as primarily white kids dying at affluent suburban schools like the Parkland Students' School. And then that needed to change, that we really needed to have a conversation driven by and focused on the majority of the victims, and that understood that not every solution is going to prevent every kind of violence, and that what mattered was doing a lot of different things, trying to make everybody safer, not just trying to prevent the kind of shooting that shows up on the news.
So I really like that because
the
conversation. What she in effect is saying is that the news is racist, and I think we agree with that. News does
We've
not
been saying it for years.
The news does not. The mainstream news does not report on 99% of gun violence in our country, not this country, our country, and that is because they're racist. They don't care about black and brown kids. Yeah, I agree with that, and woo, good on you, NPR and Guardian, for saying that. But then she came with this term, which I was unfamiliar with.
When we examined solutions journalism, one thing that a very strong advocate, Tina Rosenberg, told us is that it's not always about solutions that work. Sometimes it's solutions that don't.
If you think about the single policy that's getting the most attention right now as part of America's gun control debate, it's whether or not the country should ban military-style assault weapons and whether there should be even a mandatory buyback of the assault weapons that Americans currently own. Public opinion surveys suggest that a majority of Americans support a ban on assault weapons. Even nearly half of Americans support a mandatory buyback, something that until very recently was not even conceivable on the political agenda.
So right at the start there, solutions journalism. And this is a real term, apparently. It has its own wiki page. And I think this is what people are engaged in.
There's also some organization
that does this.
Well, it's called Solutions Journalism Network.
Well, the wiki entry for solutions journalism, as she just stated there, is an approach to news reporting that focuses on the responses to social issues as well as the problems themselves. Solution stories anchored in credible evidence explain how and why responses are working and not working. The goal of this journalistic approach is to present people with a truer, more complete view of these issues, helping to drive more effective citizenship. Isn't that opinion?
No, there's no opinion involved here. I'm looking at this page myself. This began pretty recently. 98 is tracked back to.
Solutions. That sounds like everyone's doing a version of solutions journalism instead of just reporting the news.
As early as 98, journalists noted the emergence of a new kind of journalism that examined what people and institutions were to address social problems. What people and institutions were to address social problems. Some journalism critics observed that the governing assumptions of traditional journalism is anchored in the belief that a reporter's job is to expose wrongdoing. That's not a reporter's job.
No.
A reporter's job is to report. It's not to expose
Yes.
wrongdoing.
Yes.
Might not be universally valid. Actually, whoever wrote this definition is obviously a social journalist.
Mm-hmm.
Simply reporting on problems that began to appear might not be the cure to all the world's social woes. So now all of a sudden, journalism is curative based on this definition. Other forms of journalism have simply responded to a perceived excess of negativity in news media. Civic journalism, which gained some momentum in the United States in the 90s. There used to be a thing called the City Desk. I don't know if that's any different. Seeks to engage readers in public discourse in order to encourage active participation in the democratic process and catalyze change. This is activism. It's not journalism. Solution journalism is also related to similar journalistic styles that have been practiced outside the United States, including constructive journalism, which originated in Denmark. So this is a form of activism
disguised as journalism. Yes.
Masquerading as journalism, no matter how you look at it. And if you read this page, you have to come away with that and some of the loaded language, some of the bogus history here, as I mentioned, as I read it, where they make the mention that examine what people in institutions would address social problems. Critics observe that governing assumptions of traditional journalism anchored in the belief that a reporter's job is to expose wrongdoing is incorrect. So they're using a false premise to build this definition. It's just activism. Let's call it what it is.
Okay, well, they have another word for it.
Yeah, it's a word. Solutions journalism is a form of activism that is contrary to the real precepts of journalism, but it's being used as this is bogus. It's a bull crap idea.
Well, they're talking about it like like they're all doing it.
They are.
Yes.
That's why our show exists.
Damn. Well, I'm glad they put a name to it. Now we can look out for it. Solutions journalism. I got to see if more people are doing this.
Oh, I'm going to talk to the Libjos about this.
Woo! Yeah. Now you're talking.
And I know one of them is even though he's the most liberal of the Joes, he's staunch, kind of absolutist.
It's bad if
he's going to think this is bull crap.
If you are the liberalist of the Joes, that's bad, man. You don't want to be that. All right. We have time for something else if you want to make us happy.
I got a bunch of stuff, actually. I want to play a couple of things that are just short clips.
Okay.
Not a clip blitz, but short clips, a couple of them. First of all, the India lunar lander just disappeared off the face of the new moon.
Yeah. Well, it's what you do when you try to crash into Israeli moon bases.
India's space agency announced today that it lost contact with its Vikram lunar lander, and the fate of the lander is presently unknown. The craft was making its final approach to the moon's surface to deploy a rover at the unexplored lunar South Pole. India's space agency said that the lander's operations were normal until it was just over 1 mile above the surface. Landing would have made India only the 4th country to successfully land on the moon.
Then we have this one, which I think is the funnier story of the day. Apparently, swatting is becoming something of a thing in Canada. And here's a story on the CBC about it.
An Alberta family is telling a terrifying story tonight about heavily armed police showing up at their door out of the blue and demanding entry as young children watched or hid in fear. Rafi Boudjikanian looks into the dangerous prank calls known as swatting.
There was a police car kind of slanted in the middle of the street, and I could see the front end of it.
By the time Tasha McRae got downstairs, just out of a shower, there they were, wanting in.
And they said, get your hands in the air, and I'm telling them I can't. I'm holding a towel, I can't do it, please don't make me do it.
McRae's children and their friends were in the house as officers entered. The eldest, all of 10 years old, stepped up.
My brother woke up too, so I carried him into my room. And then I told Molly and Madeline to be quiet.
Though it sure wasn't easy.
They started searching with their big guns, and then I started crying because I was really scared.
The family says police left, admitting they got an unfounded phone call, possibly about an armed man on the premises.
There's a lot of pieces to this investigation.
The RCMP told us they're still looking into things, and at the time, that unfounded call seemed urgent.
High priority means that we believe that there's imminent risk of loss of life to somebody.
They're not calling it swatting, which is a popular prank online. Recent incidents in Canada have sent police scrambling to schools in Surrey and Calgary. In the U.S., a swatting call by this man led to police gunning down an innocent person opening his door. This criminologist says emergency dispatchers have a key role to play in prevention.
They can effectively sort the wheat from the chaff by asking the right questions. They're trained to do that, and I think that is an area where we need to be pouring some resources.
And not really a short clip.
You know, I know it's not as short as it could have been, but this swatting thing is what is wrong with the police? They can't figure anything out. I mean, it's like they send a SWAT team over to some poor. They make a little 10-year-old cry.
No, this is all just part of the technological world we live in, and it's all connected to everything. Of course, now we got a bat signal. Go kill people. Yeah.
Some guy opens his door and they gun him down.
Yeah. Well, it's the system.
That's in the U.S. In Canada, they don't do so much gunning down like we do. We love to gun people down. Okay, I have one last clip, which is a college admission update, because it to me proves that, if anybody had any brains, they just give a bunch of money to the school directly instead of to some consultant who then slips it to some guy who's a coach.
The college cheating scandal is shining a new light on the admissions process at the University of Southern California. A court filing reveals emails between USC officials showing how they tracked applicants. In spreadsheets sent by an athletics department official, some applicants were labeled VIP with comments like donor, potential donor, $1 million pledge, given $2 million already, $15 million, and dad, well-known orthosurgeon. The messages were part of a defense motion for Robert Zangrillo, a father facing charges in the scandal. Zangrillo's attorneys, who are trying to get more documents from USC, say university officials were keenly aware that VIP applicants did not have to be admitted based on merit. In short, USC is far from the crime victim that it claims to be. Responding in a statement, USC calls the filing a legal and public relations strategy to divert attention from the criminal fraud for which he has been indicted, adding no athletic department official has the authority to compel admissions decisions. Stephen Mercer is a college application consultant who used to work in USC's admissions office.
There are people who see the words VIP and they think the system is rigged. Is it rigged?
The universities try to keep their donors feeling like they're being attended to, but I don't see universities bending so much that they're going to ruin their reputations.
But the scandal is raising questions about the role of money in admissions.
Oh, man.
Now, so this is one of those stories. It's the same like the Jewel story.
Yeah.
That once something gets established the way you're supposed to do things, and you go out of bounds and try to do it some other way, and there's money, lots of money involved, you're going to get screwed. The way to do it at USC, apparently, with the documents that show, you just give them a lot of money directly.
Yeah, that's the American way.
That's the American way. You don't go to some consultant and you go around
That's the American way. Yes. If you have money,
Photoshop.
If you have money, there's a whole different world that opens up for you.
Yeah, and it's transparent. It's not like it takes a genius to figure this out. I think the people who are busted for the college admissions scandal should be excoriated for being idiots. They did it wrong.
If I may make a final suggestion for those of you thinking of sending your kids to college, don't. Save the money and actually give your kid a subscription to the Adobe Creative Suite. Let them learn Photoshop, InDesign, all of that crap. These are jobs that cannot be filled right now. Go ahead and take a look. There are open jobs for people who can do creative work with Adobe Creative Suite for $60,000 and up, and they can't be filled because everyone's either way overqualified or doesn't know how to use the tools. That's the job right now. Or become a dude named Ben. That's maybe even a better idea. And you don't need to go to college. Just get some of those books, O'Reilly books. I knew you'd like that. And remember to whiz on by Dvorak.org/NA to support us for the next program, which will be on Thursday. I'll have an update from the Mobile Loaves and Fishes, the Community First Village here in Austin. I'm going to go see that tomorrow, get a tour from the CEO, so hopefully have some info on that. If not, maybe an interview for a best of show one of these days. And I will be coming to you from Opportunity Zone 33 here in Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State. This is in FEMA region number 6 if you want to locate it on all governmental maps. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where I don't have anything to say, anything close to what he just did, I'm John C. Dvorak.
Coming up on the NoAgendaStreams.com, we've got the Grumpy Old Bens with minimum wage. Be careful of the deep fake joke at the opening. End of show mixers, the Darby, Cyborg Dave, and Jesse Coy Nelson, and Tom Starkweather. Thank you, gentlemen. Until next show. Adios, everybody! And such. I should have said mofos. But these people really want to be on the street for a number of reasons. One is that's where the drugs are. I do want you to hear the narc speak.
It turns out, in fact, that many violent individuals have been avid marijuana users.
Except in Jamaica, where they smoke the ganja.
It's the holy herb. You see close up in a little box in the screen in the corner while you hear the guest is talking. You see some guy with these nasty yellow fungus-ridden nails rolling up a joint, a shittiest joint you've ever seen. It burns holes halfway down. Then the guy licks his fingers with a big saliva drop and is like trying to stop the burning. That is not how you consume the holy herb. But I've pretty much been smoking every single day for the last 30 years.
Xanax was also known to be a long-time user of marijuana.
Anti-marijuana. Bullshit. Smoke the ganja. Because I got to zone out sometimes. In marijuana. You must obey.
Joe Biden, what you hiding? Your eye was feeling lots of stress. Joe Biden, what you doing? How is you gonna get out of this mess?
So I'm a little worried about Joe Biden. He's answering questions last night about climate change, and all of a sudden, like, his eye just starts filling with blood. It's like the ending of a horror movie.
And they literally had to take the top of my head off. I mean, they take a saw, they cut your head off, and go in to find the artery. One was leaking, the other that hadn't.
Now, on the political scene, one of the Democratic candidates is Senator Joseph Biden. Have you seen the problem he's been having? He went around and made a speech, and apparently, I think it was a British politician, took his speech and kind of paraphrased it as his own. And then the press got on him, and Biden says, not to worry, he reassured his staff. He said, we have nothing to fear but fear itself.
I want to thank Rich Fitzgerald, the county executive, Allegheny County executive, for being here, and all my time in public life from since I've gotten involved. The country wasn't built by Wall Street bankers, CEOs, and hedge fund managers. If the enterprise hit hard times, everybody took a hit. Union workers, the UAW took incredible cuts in their future and their pensions and the left to get GM working. They also got that last year and try to cut wages or freeze wages for their people. Right today, the same is happening in big hospital systems. I think we have to rethink how we define what constitutes a successful economy. Folks in America don't think their children are going to have the same standard of living they had. It means investing much more in medical research to conquer devastating diseases like cancer and addiction and Alzheimer's.
There is one less candidate in the race for the presidency tonight. Delaware Senator Joseph Biden dropped out of the hunt today, saying the disclosures about his plagiarism in law school and his exaggerations about his academic record made it impossible for him to continue.
I do it with incredible reluctance, and it makes me angry. I'm angry with myself for having been put myself in the position of having to make this choice.
The Delaware Democrat is the second candidate to be forced from the race by questions of character and integrity.
Was whipsaw diplomacy.
What a week. What a week. What a week. Because it has consumed a lot of airtime on cable and in the papers this week.
You're connecting dots. What does it all mean?
He'd cooked it up real good.
The city is dirty, and it's getting dirtier.
It used to be like the Wild West, basically. There were no limits.
Finally, some brain damage we can actually enjoy.
I believe in work. I believe in work.
Take carbon out of the air to clean up the water, desalinization. And, by the way, a lot of this stuff hasn't been invented yet.
But again, when you take a deep breath and you take a step back and you think about it, you say, this is really, really crazy shit.
We can take millions of vehicles off the road if we had high-speed rails.
And he wants to reintroduce 4 different kinds, which I'm not going to burden you with, but one of them is the candle-shaped ones, and those are a favorite for a lot of people, by the way.
We need the guys and the gals who've been sitting around for a long time.
One of the big problems in America is we are measuring the wrong things. Under my presidency, we will start measuring the right things, and businesses will be my willing partner in this.
Jerome. Maybe that's too campy. Jerome. Maybe that's more like it. That's more presidential, I think. Jerome.
Jobs, 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 and jobs, jobs, jobs.
Time to reach area 7. I want it down to 33.
33, sir?
33 is right.
Yes, sir.
Bong in me easy chair and I switched on the ABC. A mad professor called Dave Caroli was bringing down a girl named Dee. She was luxury eating with a scoop in her hand, relaxing in the bath. When this mad bucker said, if you don't stop burning coal, it's going to rip this world apart. She was sitting on a horn of dilemma between a rock and a hard place. He said, you're out of luck. And all your billabongs, well, they'll dry up.
What? No more billies?
And all your dingoes, they're gonna die.
My baby.
Then along came Jones.
I'm Alan Jones.
Fat Guts Jones.
I'm Alan Jones.
Suave talking, flousy walking, smart ass Jones. Bunga, roll that number. Get under. Suck more piss, you bastard. Well, this climate wanker is a monkey spanker. He fair brought me girl to tears. So he got a lot of stock in that old shock jock, and he's great to allay our fears. Although, sometimes I start to think the world is on the brink. Why's this flog on my telly? Start spouting that stuff that the world's up and me legs start to turn to jelly.
What flavour?
Shut your faces and listen, you might learn something. He says the ocean will get up to me girlfriend's back door. Lucky ocean. I never quite got that far, but anyway. Maybe on my birthday. Anyway, here we go. Along came Jones.
I'm Alan Jones.
Fat Guts Jones.
I'm Alan Jones.
Suave talking, flousy walking, smart ass Jones. 2 British policemen are here, Mr. Jones. Oh, gee, he moved faster than shit through a goose then.
mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Fresh loaf on the